201X, Blue Star. Hua Tianhua. Note, parallel world. Boom. A muffled explosion echoed through the air as the chaos inside the bank escalated. Ling stumbled in through the front entrance, just in time to get smacked in the head by a flying fire extinguisher. Stars filled his vision as he collapsed face first onto the cold marble floor. Just his luck. After graduating high school, Ling had been forced to drop out of further studies due to his family's financial struggles. Through some connections, he managed to land a small-time admin job in a commercial district. He'd only been working 2 months. Then today happened. He was nearby running errands when he walked straight into a full-blown bank robbery and promptly got knocked out. As his consciousness faded, a strange mechanical voice echoed in his mind. Ding! The wish system has been successfully bound. Initiating novice gift pack. Ding! Congratulations. Host has received 3 wish opportunities. Still groggy, Ling couldn't form coherent thoughts. Only one desperate plea screamed in his head. I don't want to die. Ding! Wish accepted. You have obtained the skill, Rapid Regeneration. Effect. Any injury you receive will heal completely within 5 seconds. A sudden wave of warmth surged through Ling's body. The pain vanished. He blinked in confusion, sat up, and instinctively touched his head. No blood, no wound, not even a bump. He was perfectly fine. Still lying on the floor, he growled in frustration and rage. Who the hell hit me? I swear I'll kill you. Ding! Wish granted. You have acquired Throwing Mastery. Effect. Any object thrown within your strength range will have a 100% hit accuracy. A second surge of energy rushed through him. Without thinking, Ling grabbed the fire extinguisher next to him and hurled it at the nearest masked robber. Crack! The heavy metal cylinder struck the man square on the forehead like a guided missile. He collapsed instantly, twitching before falling unconscious or worse. Everyone froze. Robbers, staff, customers. No one moved. The silence was broken by a yell. Shoot him! One of the remaining robbers roared, raising his pistol. Ling's eyes widened. He had nothing else to throw. Then he remembered. There was a coin in his pocket. Ding! Throwing Mastery activated. Snap! In a blur, he flicked the coin. It zipped through the air and lodged itself perfectly in the robber's open mouth. The man jerked violently, gagged, then fell to the floor, clutching his throat. His body spasmed before going still. Boss! The last robber shouted in horror. A burly man with a machete, the apparent leader, roared and charged straight at Ling. Adrenaline surged. Ling's mind screamed. System, I want to make a wish to defeat this guy. Ding! Wish accepted. You have acquired Tai Chi Mastery. Effect. Instantly gain full proficiency in Tai Chi, including advanced combat applications. Ling's body moved on instinct as the knowledge poured in. Use force to redirect force. With a calm breath, he sidestepped the machete and grasped the attacker's wrist with a flowing motion. The man lost balance, tumbling forward. Wild horse parts its mane. With swift and graceful movements, Ling's palm struck the back of the robber's head. Thud! The burly man collapsed in an instant, eyes rolled back, frothing at the mouth. Silence. Total silence. 3 armed robbers, taken down by 1 teenager. The stunned bank staff and trembling civilians stared at Ling like they were seeing a god descend. Then the system chimed again. Ding! You have shattered the robber's desire to complete the heist. Free attribute point +1. Ding! You have fulfilled the wish of bystanders to be rescued. Wish value +1. Note, every 10 wish points allows you to make a new wish. Ling stood there, fists clenched, breathing hard. The voice in his head continued. This is the wish system. He looked at his hands, then at the unconscious bodies scattered around him. Did I just become a main character? His lips slowly curled into a grin. Am I about to hit the jackpot? Whoa, whoa, whoa. The doors of the bank burst open as a fully armed law enforcement team stormed in, ready for a high-tension standoff. But instead of chaos, they found silence. 3 masked robbers lay sprawled on the marble floor, 2 unconscious, 1 still foaming at the mouth. The air was thick with disbelief. A stern-looking middle-aged man, clearly in charge, pushed his way to the front. He scanned the bizarre scene and frowned. "What the hell happened here?" he barked. Before anyone in uniform could answer, an elderly woman among the bystanders shouted, "You're late. That young man over there already took care of them." "Young man?" The officer turned his sharp gaze toward young Ling, who stood quietly near the shattered remains of the fire extinguisher. His clothes were dusty, but his posture was calm. "You did all this?" the officer asked, brows raised. Young Ling, now fully aware of the system's presence and his own abilities, responded with a modest smile. "I just got lucky, sir." But luck wasn't what the officer saw. He saw composure, precision, strength. He turned to the civilians. "Is that true?" A few nodded vigorously. Others were still too stunned to speak. The officer stepped forward and clapped a firm hand on Yang Ling's shoulder. "You got guts, kid. What's your name and department?" Yang Ling straightened instinctively, raising his hand in a mock salute. "Report. I'm Yang Ling. Just started work recently. Rookie admin at the commercial district." That reply caught the officer off guard, but only for a second. He chuckled. "Well, you've got the spine of a soldier." He glanced at his subordinates. "Secure the area. Check for any accomplices. And pull the surveillance footage. I want to see everything." It was only then that Yang Ling realized who he was talking to. Song Bowie, a senior officer in the S City Law Enforcement Bureau, revered, feared, and famous for his no-nonsense attitude. After the perimeter was locked down and the video reviewed, Song Bowie watched the footage with folded arms, then turned to Yang Ling with clear approval in his eyes. "Xiaoyang, you sure you're not trained in combat?" Yang Ling scratched the back of his head, sheepish. "Not really." Song laughed. "Well, train or not, you saved lives today. The Bureau owes you one." He motioned for Yang Ling to follow. "Come, sit with me for a while." 2 hours later, Yang Ling found himself in the best ward of S City's #1 civilian hospital. Officially registered as a precautionary admission, the hospital called it a work-related injury. But really, it was just VIP treatment. Lying back on the pristine sheets, Yang Ling finally had time to open his system panel. White diamond with center dot. Wish system status. White diamond with center dot. Host, Yang Ling. Strength, 8. Average adult male, 10. Agility, 10. Average adult male, 10. Endurance, 9. Average adult male, 10. Charm, locked. Skills, probing eyes, innate. Rapid regeneration. Throwing mastery, Tai Chi Mastery. Wish points, 1 out of 10. Free attribute points, 1. He stared at the stats, feeling excitement rise in his chest. After a moment of thought, he tapped the free point into agility. "If something happens again, I'd rather be fast than fancy." The news spread fast. Local media and officials praised Yang Ling as a brave civilian hero. Some called him a model for the new generation. A token reward of 10,000 renminbi was announced by the city. To Yang Ling, that wasn't just money. It was hope. He had decent grades in school, but poverty had forced him into the workforce early. Now, with this sudden windfall and the power of a mysterious system, he could retake the college entrance exam or even build a future of his own making. But more than anything else, he had a second chance. And a secret weapon. Still dressed in his hospital gown, Yang Ling grabbed a bunch of grapes from the bedside table. With a grin, he popped one into his mouth and strolled out of the room. Inside, he whispered to himself, "Probing eyes, activate." His vision changed. The world lit up in faint glows and pulses. Just ahead, a young nurse hurried past, red light softly glowing around her. Wish detected. Target, human life form, female. Current desire, active. The nurse looked flustered, pacing like she'd lost something important. Yang Ling stepped forward, smiling politely. "Excuse me, Miss Nurse. Is everything okay?"
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
The little nurse looked innocent and cute. She should have just graduated from school, and said anxiously, "The tube of anesthetic for the patient is gone. What to do if you can't find it? You will be scolded by the head nurse." Anesthetic? Ling looked around and suddenly found something and said in a low voice, "Don't move." "What?" The little nurse was startled and really didn't move. Ling's hand brushed past her ear, and under the blushing gaze of the little nurse, he tore off a piece of tape from her back collar, on which a vial was stuck. He raised his hand and said, "Is this the anesthetic you were looking for?" The little nurse was taken aback for a moment, and then said pleasantly, "Yeah, that's right, that's it." Ling smiled and handed the vial over. "You are also talented if you can get the anesthetic into your back collar." The little nurse blushed, and after taking the vial, she hurriedly thanked her and walked quickly towards a ward in front of her. "Hey, I haven't asked your name yet." Just as Ling spoke, she could no longer see her back. "Ding, you have fulfilled the nurse's wish. Wish value +1. Hey, take it easy." Ling was in a good mood and was about to walk around when suddenly 2 nurses came in front of him. One of them, who was about 25 or 6 years old, sneered, "Why? Are you her boyfriend?" Ling was taken aback when he heard the words, then shook his head and said, "I don't know. What's the matter? If you don't know each other, just mind your own business." Oh, it seemed that the visitor was not kind. Ling narrowed his eyes and said with a half-smile, "I wonder, no matter how stupid a person is, he wouldn't stick anesthetics on his collar. It turned out to be the masterpiece of the 2 of you." "How? Can't you?" Another female nurse said with some contempt. "Aren't you just lucky? How dare you meddle in your own business? Look who lives here, do you deserve it?" Ling really looked around. The environment on this floor is quiet, and the decoration is different from the inpatient department of ordinary hospitals. Those who can live here must be either rich or expensive. In other words, the superior in the law enforcement team treated him really well and arranged a high-quality ward for him. He suddenly said, "So that's the case. The people who live here are all big shots, and that little nurse is much prettier than you, and it's easier to get the attention of the big shots, which prevents you from getting rich. You are jealous, so you play tricks on her and try to drive her away, right? As for me, I happen to spoil your business, so I came here to mock and warn me." The nurse who spoke at the beginning sneered. "Pretty? Is she pretty? She's just an idiot. Ha 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 ha." Ling was a little amused. He pointed to the mirror not far away and said, "Go, look in the mirror yourself. If she isn't pretty, aren't you ugly? You." The second daughter glared at him, and at this moment the system's notification sounded. "Ding, you have crushed the nurse's desire to play tricks. Attribute point +1. Ding, you shattered their desire to mock you. Attribute point +1. Seeing that the 2 women were left speechless by what he said and got 2 more attribute points, Ling laughed, ignored them, and continued to walk forward. Looking at his back, one of the women sneered and said, "It's just luck. What the hell?" Before she finished speaking, something suddenly flew towards her and was accurately thrown into her mouth. "It is a grape." Not far away, Ling raised a bunch of grapes in his hand and said, "Sometimes, if you don't have strength, luck will not favor you." The nurse vomited out the grapes in her mouth, and the 2 women saw fear in each other's eyes as they watched his back that was drifting away. As soon as he walked into the elevator, Ling suddenly felt a little itchy on his neck. He slapped it casually, and a mosquito died on the spot. Ding, you shattered the mosquito's blood-sucking desire and gained attribute points +1. Huh, does that count? Ling was taken aback at first and then burst out laughing. If he slapped mosquitoes randomly, wouldn't he have as many attribute points as he wanted? As soon as this idea was formed, the voice of the system sounded in my mind. "Ding dong, you can only get 2 attribute points from non-human creatures every day." Ling laughed wryly when he heard the words. The system was indeed cheating. On the elevator, he helped a nurse carry the hospital bed, and a little wish was worth it. When he walked outside the inpatient building, it was completely dark. Strolling into a small park of a hospital, Ling saw that there was no one around, so he opened the properties panel. Now he has 3 attribute points, and it is meaningless to save attribute points. After hesitating for a while, He allocated 1 point of strength and dash points of agility. Currently, his panel is as follows. Host, Ling. Power 9. Agility, 12. Constitution, 10. Charms, not activated. After the distribution was completed, a warm current poured into the limbs, which was indescribably comfortable. Taking a deep breath, he picked up a few stones from the ground, and then threw them out. Ding! The throwing mastery skill is activated. Boom! With a muffled sound, the stone precisely hit a thumb-thick tree branch not far away, shaking it nonstop. Seeing this, Ling was mixed. He was happy that his throwing proficiency was amazing, and his hit rate was -%. Unfortunately, his strength was insufficient, and he couldn't even smash branches. People always want to keep going up and getting stronger, and Ling is no exception. He was thinking about whether to add more attributes to his strength in the future, when suddenly a man's voice came from not far away. Hey, come to visit a relative and meet acquaintances. Isn't this Ling? How about playing mud here at night? Ling frowned, but when he turned around, he was slightly stunned. It was a man and a woman who came. The man was about 20 years old, well-dressed, tall, and good-looking. The woman is about 18 or 19 years old, wearing a dress, with long hair, pure and sweet. She is a rare beauty. At this moment, the girl was looking at Ling with embarrassment. After hesitating for a moment, she still greeted her. Ling, long time no see. Ling sighed softly in his heart. This beautiful girl is called Fong Yue, who was his girlfriend in high school. It's a pity that in the 3rd year of high school, she abandoned herself and became the girlfriend of a rich second generation. Driven by money, she finally got her wish and entered Donghua University, which is the 1st in the province and the 3rd in the country. And the young man next to Fong Yue is his rich second-generation boyfriend, named Tion, the son of the chairman of the Tion Group, and rumored to have a family fortune of 3 billion. Ling looked at Fong Yue silently, but under the calm expression, the light in his eyes danced slightly. Goodbye to his ex-girlfriend. He had mixed feelings in his heart. After a moment of silence, he just nodded slightly as a greeting, then turned and walked away. Fong Yue looked at Ling's back, and a look of sadness flashed across her face. Tion, who was beside her, turned pale. He was talking to Ling, but this kid ignored him. It made him feel insulted. Stop! Tion yelled softly, and Ling really stopped, turned around, looked at him indifferently, and said, What's the matter? Are you busy? As soon as these words came out, Tion and Fong Yue were slightly taken aback. In their impression, Ling's character was a bit weak in the past, not to mention facing Tion. Even some strong people in the school, he would avoid them. But now, his calm eyes and calm tone seemed to be a different person. Tion even saw a look of contempt in Ling's eyes, which made him extremely upset. He sneered and said, I haven't seen you for more than half a year, but you have changed. Being a coordinator really feels like a civil servant. Let me tell you, trash is always trash. Believe it or not. I won't even make you a coordinator. Seeing that Tion seemed really angry, Fong Yue hurriedly said, Brother Yin, forget it. He is already miserable. There will be no intersection with us in the future. Let's go. These words made Tion feel better. Seeing that Ling was silent, he sneered and said, Just now I saw that you were still a bit of a human being, so you are still that coward. For Yue's sake, I don't care about you. Get out of the way. This young master is going to visit the garden. Just before the words were finished, there was a crisp sound from the path in the garden. Snapped. With a slap, Tion was knocked to the ground by Ling on the spot. Silence, suffocating silence. Whether it was Fong Yue or Tion who fell to the ground, he was stunned as he covered his cheeks. Ling said lightly, I'm sorry, there was a mosquito buzzing in my ear just now, and I couldn't help it for a while, so I shot it. Young Master Tion, it didn't hurt you. With a faint look, calm tone, and condescending eyes, it seemed that in Ling's eyes, Tion was really just a mosquito. You dare to hit me? Tion suddenly reacted and roared. The bodyguards, where did they die? They all come to me. Before he could finish speaking, Yang Ling slapped him backhand again. Snap! There was another crisp sound, and one of Tianjian's teeth burst out, and he was thrown to the ground again. Half of his face was swollen. Yang Ling looked down at him and said with a sneer, "Mosquitoes in summer are really noisy. If they dare to buzz again, I can only shut them up completely." Threats, blatant threats. Tianyan was stunned, while Feng Yue covered her mouth with her small hands, her eyes wide open, her face full of disbelief. At this time, Tianjuyan's two bodyguards in black suits finally rushed over. One was supporting his young master, and the other tall one punched Yang Ling directly. "Do it!" Yang Ling sneered. There were still 2 stones left in his hands. His eyes flashed fiercely, and he fired 2 consecutive shots. Ding! Throwing proficiency skill is activated. The current hit rate is 100%. Boom! With 2 muffled bangs, a stone hit the bodyguard's forehead. The pair of sunglasses was smashed in half on the spot, and another stone hit the bodyguard's knee directly. His feet were soft, and the bodyguard in black staggered and rushed towards Yang Ling. Not missing the opportunity, Yang Ling stepped forward and punched the bodyguard in the face. Although his strength was only 10 points, it was within the normal range. When the punch was punched, the bodyguard only felt stares in his eyes and fell to the ground with a plop, howling. The agility at 11 o'clock made Yang Ling move faster than before, the so-called taking advantage of his illness to kill him. He kicked this person's lower abdomen again. Under 3 consecutive blows, the bodyguard fell to the ground with a plop, losing his fighting power. What? The other bodyguard, who was squatting on the ground and supporting his young master, widened his eyes. Before he could react, he saw a shoe sole printing towards his face. Boom! With a muffled sound, the bodyguard was kicked firmly in the head and passed out on the spot. All this is a long story, but in fact it only lasts a dozen seconds. Tianjuyan was stunned. His mouth was open enough to swallow an egg. These 2 bodyguards were hired at a high price, and they were instantly killed? Feng Yue looked at Yang Ling with dull eyes. The contrast between Yang Ling's front and back was too great. The image of the weak young man in her mind was shattered, replaced by this domineering and fierce man. Seeing Yang Ling walking towards him, Tianjuyan was so frightened that his legs became weak, and he didn't even have the strength to run away. He said tremblingly, "You're not Yang Ling. You can't be that Yang Ling." "How can that be?" Yang Ling sneered and said, "People change. You didn't care as much as you did before, but you've become more energetic." Walking closer, he looked down at Tianjuyan with a faint murderous look in his eyes. What are you doing?" Tianjuyan was scared, really scared. He said in fear, "Money. I will give you money. Please don't hurt me." "Money." Yang Ling sneered and said, "I don't want your money." As he spoke, he pointed at Feng Yue. "Give this woman to me, and I'll let you go. Otherwise, break your leg." "What?" Feng Yue on the side trembled all over. She never thought that Yang Ling would make such a request. She instinctively looked at Tianjuyan, hoping that her boyfriend would not trade her away like an item. Tianjuyan was stunned when he heard the words. He looked at Yang Ling, who had a sneer on his face, and then at Feng Yue, who was crying. In the end, fear overcame dignity. He nodded slightly. "What?" Feng Yue's tears couldn't be held back any longer, dripping down, but Yang Ling laughed out loud, very heartily. Young Master Tion, what kind of society is it now? I'm just talking casually. Did you really agree? Who do you think I am? How can I, Yang Ling, want this kind of broken flowers and willows?" These words were quite vicious. Feng Yue's heart was like a knife. Her chest heaved violently, as if she was about to suffocate. At this time, the bodyguard who was kicked by Yang Ling suddenly became violent, spun around in the air, and kicked towards Yang Ling viciously. Although Yang Ling has been strengthened by the system and has stronger attributes in all aspects, he is still an ordinary person after all, and he can only block with his hands in time. With a muffled sound, the whip kicked Yang Ling back again and hit the big tree with a bang. This bodyguard is indeed the son of Lin Jiazi. After being kicked hard on the head, he still didn't completely pass out. When Yang Ling was at his best, he violently hurt others. Seeing this, Tion jumped up violently and laughed like crazy. Yang Ling, my bodyguard, is called Iron Leg. This kick can break your hand bones. Dare to humiliate me. You are dead. I broke his leg. I'll take care of it if something happens. The bodyguard called Iron Leg shook his head. He was still dizzy, but he still nodded to Tion and walked towards Yang Ling. The situation was reversed, and Fang Yue was stunned after repeated stimulation. She looked at Yang Ling with teary eyes and didn't know what to do for a while. At this moment, a voice rang in Yang Ling's mind after being hit hard. Ding! The injury recovery skill is activated. Immediately, a warm current surged through his body, and he recovered on the spot. He opened his eyes and slowly stood up straight. The murderous look in his eyes was undisguised. Tion, I heard that you're going to break my leg? Yes. Tion and the bodyguard gasped at the same time. How is this possible? How is this possible? Yang Ling, Tion was so frightened that he couldn't speak clearly, and the bodyguard was indeed trained, but he rushed up again after a moment of shock and slashed at Yang Ling's head with a whip leg. Ding! Tai Chi is proficient in activation. Yang Ling dodged back like a tumbler, passed the kick, then turned around beautifully, kicked the bodyguard's center of gravity with a sweeping leg. But I didn't expect that the bodyguard's footwork was extremely stable. This kick only made him unsteady and did not directly kick him to the ground. Obviously, Yang Ling's strength was not enough. However, Desheng's Tai Chi allowed him to do whatever he wanted, so Yang Ling grabbed the bodyguard's ankle with his right hand and pulled it hard. Boom! The bodyguard couldn't stand up any longer and fell firmly to the ground. Take advantage of his illness to kill him. Yang Ling followed up and kicked the bodyguard hard on the head, knocking him unconscious on the spot. 3 rounds to solve the bodyguard. If there was some element of luck in the sudden attack with stones before, then it is real strength now. Tion was so shocked that his face paled, and he no longer had the arrogant attitude just now. He collapsed on the ground and looked at Yang Ling in fear. And Fang Yue also trembled slightly. She never thought that her ex-boyfriend, the little man in her impression, was so powerful. At this moment, the commotion here has attracted some people who eat melons, and their eyes widen one by one. This guy's amazing. Martial arts master. Having such a boyfriend must make you feel safe. For a while, all kinds of exclamation words came one after another. Yang Ling turned a deaf ear and walked towards Tion step by step. It seemed that he was really going to break his leg. Tion was trembling all over, and tears even flowed from his eyes. He watched Yang Ling shaking his head constantly and muttered, "No, don't come here." Having developed to this point, the anger in Yang Ling's heart had overwhelmed his reason. When he came close, he looked down at Tion and slowly raised his foot. Tit for tat, I will destroy you. As he spoke, he stomped on this person's calf. But at this moment, Fang Yue rushed over suddenly, stepped forward and grabbed his arm, and said in a slightly trembling voice, Yang Ling, don't be impulsive, don't. Yang Ling glanced at her and regained his sanity in an instant. If I step on it, I may be accused of intentional injury, or I may completely offend the Tion group and face crazy revenge in the future. After all, he has no power, and he can't compete with Tion, who has a big family and a big business. He looked at Fang Yue, his expression calmed down, and he said lightly, I understand what you mean. That's good. It's just that Fang Yue didn't breathe a sigh of relief, but heard the second half of Yang Ling's words. But my name is Yang Ling, Fierce Ling. After saying that, he stomped down fiercely. Crack! The sound of broken leg bones was heard, followed by Erida Juyen's heart-piercing screams. Yang Ling stomped on this man's calf. The field was filled with the sound of gasping for air. At first, some people who were eating melons wanted to come up to persuade them to fight, but now they all involuntarily took a few steps back. This handsome-looking boy is really a ruthless man. Ding, you smashed Tion Juyen's desire to mock you. Attribute point +1. Ding, You smashed the wish of the 2 bodyguards to teach you a lesson. Attribute point +1. Ding, you shattered Tianjian's wish not to break his leg. Attribute point +1. Ding, you have fulfilled the desire of the people who eat melons to watch the excitement, and the wish value is +1. Ding, you shattered the desire of the melon eaters to persuade the fight. Attribute point +1. Current free allocation of attribute points. 4. Current wishing progress. March 10th. The system's notification sounded continuously, and Ling glanced at Tianjuyan, who was lying on the ground crying, and sneered, "Whose leg is broken now?" The audience was silent. Only the sound of wailing kept ringing out. Ling glanced at Tianjuyan, who was screaming on the ground, and Fang Yue, who was stunned, and sneered. Just as he was about to leave, a young woman in police uniform pushed through the crowd and came out. This woman is probably in her early 20s. She looks delicate and dignified, and she has a heroic temperament on her body. She is really a J-flower, and it's kind of pretty. She took a few steps forward, looked at the mess all over the floor, frowned, and asked, Ling, what's going on? This beautiful woman is the captain of the 2nd team of the patrol brigade, and also Ling's immediate boss, Su Qiuxia. This is a well-known iceberg beauty in the law enforcement team. She has strict requirements on her subordinates, and even stricter requirements on herself. When Ling saw her coming, he was taken aback. The icy aura disappeared instantly, and he laughed and said, "Captain Su, why are you here? I'm dealing with some disputes." Dispute. Su Qiuxia frowned slightly. She had just arrived and didn't look at what Ling did just now. At this time, Tianjian, who was screaming, saw Su Qiuxia as if he had seen a savior, and shouted, "Captain Su, I am Tianjian. This kid broke my leg, and he wants to murder me. Quickly arrest him." Okay. Su Qiuxia turned her head to look at Ling, and shouted in a low voice, "What's going on?" Ling sighed softly. "It will be difficult to explain clearly for a while. Captain, it's better to send them to the hospital first." Su Qiuxia nodded slightly, and said to the surrounding medical staff and security guards, "Someone is injured at the scene. Rescue the wounded first." Several people were shocked when they heard the words. Those who were looking for a stretcher looked for a stretcher, and those who carried the wounded went to carry the wounded. Lying on the stretcher, Tianjuan wailed and cursed loudly. "Su Qiuxia, our group pays so much taxes every year. Why don't you give me an explanation?" As soon as these words came out, Su Qiuxia's eyes became sharper. She looked at Tianjuan and said in a deep voice, "Master Tian, it is the duty of every citizen to pay taxes according to the law. What should I tell you? These words are just words, and there is no accommodation in the words." Tianjuan's expression was resentful. Hearing this, he glared at Su Qiuxia and finally looked at Ling. He said ruthlessly, "Ling, I'm going to sue you for bankrupting your family and putting you in prison for the rest of your life." "Let's see," Ling said indifferently. "Summer is full of bugs, which are very annoying. Next time, if there are still mosquitoes that dare to buzz in my ears, then I will have to kill him." His voice gradually turned cold, and his eyes became sharp again. Tianjian was a little scared, and the broken leg bone made him feel unbearable pain. Under the humiliation, pain, fear, and other emotions, he was so angry that he fainted for a while. Fang Yue wiped away her tears, glanced at Ling, and quickly followed the stretcher. After walking for a while, everyone didn't have to watch the excitement anymore. Many people looked at Ling with some fear, and then they all dispersed. Su Qiuxia said, "Ling, is your head all right?" Ling laughed and said, "Thank you for your concern. I'm fine now." "Well, that's good. Walk with me." With a bright moon hanging high, Su Qiuxia frowned and asked as she walked along the path in the hospital garden, "What happened just now? Then you broke Tianjuan's leg?" Ling rubbed his nose and smiled slightly. "It's nothing serious. When old friends meet, they have to catch up." Reminiscing, Su Qiuxia smiled noncommittally. As if she didn't want to ask more questions, she looked at Ling and said, "After you made a great contribution just now, I read some information about you, and I know about you. Tianjuan, and Feng Yue. Now that you have broken his leg and started legal proceedings, can you afford a lawyer? Ling was taken aback when he heard the words, and then said calmly, "Soldiers come to cover the water and soil. I have my own way." Seeing Ling's relaxed smile, Su Qiuxia sighed softly, nodded and said, "I will report this matter to Bureau Song. I hope he can help you find solution. In addition, I watched the surveillance video of the bank robbery before. Did you use Tai Chi?" Ling had thought of an excuse a long time ago. He nodded and said, "I learned it from my master in my hometown when I was young, but I didn't expect it to come in handy." Su Qiuxia stared at Ling, seeing that his expression was calm and not panicked at all. She nodded after a while and said, "You make sense. You have such skills. Don't go astray, and don't take the initiative to cause trouble, you know?" Ling smiled and said, "Don't worry, I won't take the initiative to cause trouble." Ding! You gave an affirmative answer, fulfilling Su Qiuxia's wish, and the wish value is +1. That's okay too? Ling was overjoyed and changed the subject. "Captain, why is your old man free to visit me?" Su Qiuxia heard these crude words and gave him an annoyed look. This iceberg beauty showed such an expression. Ling's heart skipped a beat at this glance, and he couldn't help but blush a little. Su Qiuxia didn't care about his expression and said casually, "I'll come over to take a look as I pass by after get off work. By the way, let me tell you that the leader of the 3 robbers is a habitual offender. You have really done a great job." Recidivist? Ling was surprised and said, "Could it be the person who committed the serial robbery a few years ago?" Su Qiuxia nodded and said, "I guess the money is used up, so I want to get it out again. By the way, I received a notice from the Municipal Bureau. After a few days, when the superiors finish their work, they will visit your home to give condolences. You will be ready after you leave the hospital." "What?" Ling was taken aback when he heard the words, and then smiled wryly. He is not willing to make such a big show, but this is also a glorious tradition of the country, and his opposition is also invalid. Looking at Jie Hua beside him, he was slightly puzzled. It's enough to call and inform about this kind of thing, and you have to go there yourself? After thinking about it, it suddenly dawned on me. It is true that he has made a great contribution to catching a serial robber, but after all, he is only a non-staff member, and a little money is awarded, and an honor is enough. But Su Qiuxia, who is his superior, is different. She has the means and can be promoted, so the great credit for this day naturally falls on her head. It turned out that this jerk came to thank herself, but she was too embarrassed to say so she made up such an excuse. Seeing Ling looking at her with a half-smile, Su Qiuxia blushed a little, but turned her head away from Ling and hummed softly, "I owe you a favor this time. Since you have nothing to do, I'll leave." Then he turned around and went back the same way. Ding! You smashed Su Qiuxia's wish to hide her gratitude. Attribute point +1. Looking at her back, Ling laughed and said, "Captain, why don't you come to visit the patient with your bare hands? Remember to buy some fruit next time." "I love grapes." Su Qiuxia paused, turned her head to look at the smiling Ling. Her face flushed a little, and then she walked faster. After bidding farewell to the beauty Jie Hua, Ling was not in a hurry to go back to the ward. Before Tianjuan's incident, he got 4 attribute points, and then Su Qiuxia contributed 1 point. Now he has 5 of his own attribute points that he can freely distribute. After hesitating for a while, he added 2 points of strength, 2 points of agility, and 1 point of constitution. This time, the panel looks much better. Power, 11. Agility, 13. Stamina, 11. Charm, not activated. Now his strength and physique are slightly better than the average adult male, and his 13 points of agility are equivalent to the agility of ordinary athletes. Smiling contentedly, he opened his probing eyes. Under the eyes of probing, all wishing creatures would emit red light, but at this moment Ling was stunned. Isn't there too much red light in front of me? The entire garden was filled with floating red lights. He walked to the nearest place and found that it was a group of ants carrying a grasshopper. "You also have wishes?" Ling laughed and threw the grasshopper into the ant nest. Ding! you have fulfilled the wish of the ants to carry food, and the wish value is +1. Ding, you have fulfilled the carp's wish to be fed, and the wish value is +1. Ding dong, you can only get 2 wishing points from non-human creatures every day, which is currently full. Really? Young Ling smiled wryly. Since the animals could no longer make wishes, he turned his gaze outside the garden. It's just that he discovered a serious problem. There are many people who have wishes, but not every wish is so easy to achieve. Some people hope that their illness will be cured. Some people want to get rich. All in all, he can't help most of them, and he doesn't have the ability. Fortunately, he was lucky today. He swiped 2 wish points from the cleaning ant and met a little girl who got lost on the floor by chance. In the middle of the night, in the garden, after trying his best to drag up a security guard who accidentally fell into the pond while watching the night, he finally fulfilled the condition. Ding, your current wishing progress is October 10th. You can make a wish. Yang Ling became excited immediately. He walked quickly to an empty corner, took a deep breath, and shouted in his heart, "System, give me $10 trillion immediately, and I will become a rich man." The so-called greed is not enough to swallow the elephant. It is not as simple as wanting to swallow the elephant, but now he has to swallow the chicken DP of a year. Ding! The wish failed. The host's wish can only strengthen one of his own skills or body functions, and cannot change the external world. Please make another wish. What? Yang Ling was furious and shouted angrily, "I can't even give you this little money. You're such a fart-wishing system. It's a cheating system." Ding, please host, stay calm, stay calm. Immediately, the words "keep calm" echoed in Yang Ling's mind, as if chanting a mantra, which left him dumbfounded and speechless. After a while, Yang Ling lamented in his heart. It seemed that it was impossible to get rich overnight, or become invincible immediately. He had to keep his feet on the ground and move forward step by step. Sitting on a bench in the park, after hesitating for a long time, he decided to go to university first, and he wanted to go to a prestigious university. Education is a stepping stone. No matter where you go in the future, you can use it, and the dream in your heart needs education support. After hesitating for a moment, he said in a deep voice, "I want to be a top student." Ding! Mastery of learning is a general concept. You can only choose one of the subjects to strengthen. What? He couldn't help but swear. Huating's college entrance examination is usually at the end of June, with a total of 6 subjects, and now there are only 15 days left. He is not confident that he can make 6 wishes in such a short period of time. In addition, there's a big hidden danger in his unrestrained use of the probing eye brush attribute. In the eyes of others, he only pays but does not return. It is okay to say once or twice. In the long run, his reputation will spread. Now that the information is so developed, he is either regarded as a kind person or he has ulterior motives. No matter which one, it will be particularly eye-catching. If someone with a heart finds that he has made rapid progress in all aspects and investigates it, it will be really not good. Therefore, you must use the eye of investigation, and you must brush up the attributes, but you must have a sense of proportion and grasp a certain degree. The problem now is how to ensure that I can be admitted to a famous university in just 15 days. After thinking for a long time on the bench, a flash of inspiration flashed in his mind, and he said in a deep voice, "System, I want to make a wish. Let me have the ability to never forget." Ding, the host wants to have the ability to never forget. Are you sure? Yang Ling was overjoyed when he heard the words, and without any other hints, he indicated that this wish was feasible, so he hurriedly confirmed it. Ding, the wish was successful. The host has acquired the skill, Photographic Memory. Photographic Memory. Strengthen memory to 100% full level. As the system's words sounded, a warm current rose from the bottom of his heart and poured into his mind. He already possessed this skill. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the first wish independently and activating the special attribute, Charm. Hint: with the increase of your charm value, your appearance, demeanor, temperament, and other aspects will be improved accordingly. Reminder: the charm value cannot be increased by assigning attribute points. and the charm value will automatically increase by 1 point after each wish. Ling was taken aback when he heard this, and after opening his own attribute panel, he saw that there was an extra charm attribute under the value of Qi, with a value of 1 point. And this kind of benefit, he walked to the small pond in the park and looked down. Under the moonlight, a handsome young face was reflected in the lake. It seems to be handsome. Ling laughed. He didn't care much about whether he was handsome or not. Of course, it would be best if he could become handsome. What he cares about now is this photographic memory skill. Thinking of this, he got up and hurried to the ward. After returning to his room, he picked up a magazine and quickly browsed through it, then threw it aside. Then he began to recall the content, and after a while, a smile appeared on his face. As expected, the content of the magazine came to mind one by one, and it was not bad at all. Awesome! Ling laughed loudly. With this function, he can read books like crazy, read textbooks, explain extracurricular exercises, etc. However, it was too late today. He suppressed his excitement and soon fell asleep. After a night of nothing, Ling changed his clothes in the early morning of the next day and left the ward early. He was planning to go to the admissions office to sign up and buy some textbooks and reference books on the way back. As soon as he walked to the entrance of the hospital, suddenly there was a crisp voice calling his name behind him. And when he looked back, his eyes lit up. The person who came was the little nurse he helped yesterday. She was originally a beautiful woman, but now she changed into a long casual dress and loosened her hair, adding a bit of beauty. Compared with Feng Yue, she was nothing inferior. Walking closer, the little nurse smiled and said, "I didn't have time to thank you yesterday. Thank you." Ling nodded slightly and said, "I also had one thing that I didn't have time to talk about yesterday." The little nurse asked curiously, "What's the matter?" "Your name." Ling looked at her with a serious expression. "What?" The little nurse stared blankly at Ling for a moment, then burst out laughing. "Just ask, I thought it was a big deal." "My name is Zhang Yuro." "Zhang Yuro." Ling read a sentence silently and said, "Good name." Seeing the faint red light emanating from the little nurse's body, he chuckled and said, "Are you hungry just after get off work? Come on, please have breakfast." "What?" Zhang Yuro was taken aback when she heard the words, instinctively touched her lower abdomen, and whispered, "How do you know I'm hungry?" But while talking, Ling had already walked forward. After a while, the two came to the breakfast shop. Ling ordered 2 steam buns. Zhang Yuro was really hungry, so she thanked her and started to eat. "Ding, you fulfilled Zhang Yuro's wish to have breakfast, and the wish value is +1. Ling smiled slightly when he heard the words and also started to eat. The two of them were eating when suddenly a young man came over and said with a little surprise, "Yuro." "What?" Zhang Yuro was taken aback, and when she saw the young man, a look of uneasiness appeared on her face. "Wong, doctor, why are you here?" The man called Dr. Wong sat closer and smiled excitedly. "Why didn't you notify me when you changed your job in the hospital? It took me a long time to find out that you have come to work in the first hospital, and I came here specially to find you today." Zhang Yuro gently moved towards Ling and said hesitantly, "We are not suitable. Please stop harassing me." "Okay." The young man's face darkened when he heard this. He sneered and said, "Isn't it appropriate? Have you forgotten who saved your father's life?" Zhang Yuro's eyes were clouded with water, and she tremblingly said, "You cured my father. I am very grateful. But we also paid. Please don't come to me." The young man looked at her tearful expression, then looked around and found that many people were looking at her, sighed softly, and said softly, "Don't cry. Feelings can be cultivated slowly." As he said that, he took out a thick book and said, "Don't you want to learn Chinese medicine? This treatise on febrile diseases and miscellaneous diseases annotated by famous doctors is my treasure, and I give it to you. Are you free tomorrow? Let's have a meal together." Tomorrow I..." Zhang Yuro became at a loss, suddenly looked at Ling beside her, and said eagerly, "Ling, didn't we make an appointment to watch a movie together tomorrow?" While talking, she kept blinking at Ling. Ling was taken aback for a moment. This girl used herself as a shield for her feelings. Sighing softly in his heart, he looked at the young man and smiled. I'm sorry, Dr. Wong. Nurse Zhang did agree to accompany me to the movies. Ding. Zhang Yuro wants you to act as a shield. You fulfilled her wish, and the wish value is +1. Dr. Wong's expression sank when he heard this. He looked at Ling indifferently and said, Who are you? Ling said calmly, One of her patients. Patient? Dr. Wong sneered. I'm asking you what you do. The society is very realistic. Before dealing with people, first look at occupation, second look at income, and third look at relationship. Ling snorted and said, I'm a district administrator. Tisk. Dr. Wong sneered when he heard this, and some of the melon-eating crowd in the breakfast shop also cast disdainful glances. Dr. Wong looked at Ling with contempt. He smiled lightly and said, Well, you don't want to go to the movies. I'll give you 500 yuan, which is enough for you to buy 10 movie tickets. As he spoke, he took out a few 100 yuan bills from his wallet and put them on the table, saying, I'll pay for the breakfast for you too. If there's nothing else, you can go. Ridicule. Ridiculous taunt. The salary of non-staff personnel cannot be compared with that of doctors. This person clearly looks down on Ling. At the same time, there was a faint sound of ridicule among the surrounding melon-eating crowd. Ling's face darkened slowly, and he said lightly, As a doctor, you should serve the world well and be kind to others. You talk about money here and there every now and then. It seems that your professionalism is worrying. You are vulgar. This can be described as tricky, implying that this person is vulgar and unqualified to be a doctor. Many people who eat melons thought that although Ling was somewhat idealistic, he did not swear at people, and his speech was indeed good. In contrast, this doctor is really tacky. They all cast curious glances at Ling, looking forward to the development of the matter. Ding. You have fulfilled the desire of the people who eat melons to watch the excitement, and the wish value is +1. Zhang Yuro looked at Ling's eyes and smiled. It seemed that these words were in line with the little nurse's values. Seeing this, Dr. Wong's complexion turned ugly. He didn't expect this kid to speak so trickily. He originally wanted to use money to mock him and let Zhang Yuro see his generosity and financial resources. He didn't expect to shoot himself in the foot. Now the 500 yuan on the table is particularly eye-catching, and it's not right for him to accept it or not to accept it. Ding, you smashed Dr. Wong's wish to mock you. Attribute point +1. Ling didn't expect to gain a lot from what he said, so he couldn't help but feel happy. But Dr. Wong said with a red face, I've studied medicine for so many years. You talk to me about professionalism? If I give you money, it's for you to go down the steps, and it's shameless for you to return. Here's a medical book for you. Can you understand it? Everyone in the arena was taken aback when they heard the words, and these words were obviously not as good as Ling's. Ling took the treatise on febrile diseases and miscellaneous diseases on the table, flipped through it casually, and said with a half-smile, Dr. Wong, you are incoherent. If the major is not the right one, let alone me, even our bureau chief may not understand it. Could it be that our bureau chief is also a shameless person? As soon as this remark came out, everyone burst into laughter. Ling's sharp tongue kept Dr. Wong speechless. At first, the melon-eating crowd looked down on Ling, but now they think this kid is good, smart, not humble, and eloquent. Several female college students in the corner were smiling like flowers, whispering and seeming very interested in Ling. Zhang Yuro looked at Ling and unconsciously showed a bright smile on her face. Thinking of the little man's hand brushing her neck last night, her face turned red again. Dr. Wong's face turned red and white, and he said angrily, What right do you have to touch my book? Take your hand away. Ling casually threw the book on the table and said calmly, You want to give this book to Yuro? It seems that you have memorized it by heart. Hearing this, Dr. Wong sneered and said, That's natural. For a person like you, you won't understand even if I tell you. Ling laughed and said, Speaking of which, I also read treatise on febrile diseases and miscellaneous diseases when I was a child. How about this? Let's each talk about the content of a piece of the book and compare who has a higher accuracy rate. If you win, I'll tear up the movie ticket and lie down honestly in the ward. You can date whoever you like. But if I win, how about you stop pestering Euro again? As soon as this remark came out, everyone was taken aback for a moment, and then an expression of disbelief appeared on their faces. A layman wants to compare his professional knowledge with a doctor. Isn't this a trick in front of Guangong? Many people who had a good impression of Yang Ling before shook their heads, and some showed disdain. This boy is gone, young and vigorous. Even if he has seen it, he is definitely not as good as a doctor. If he can win, I will eat shit in the live broadcast, stutter 5 bites a second. Whispering sounded, but Dr. Wong laughed. Your name is Yang Ling, right? If you have no brains, you have no brains. How dare you bet on my medical skills? Okay, I promise you. As he said that, he looked at Jean Euro and said, Don't worry, Euro, I will definitely win. Let's have dinner tomorrow. Tears were about to fall from Jean Euro's eyes. She grabbed Yang Ling's arm and whispered eagerly, Hey, why are you saying that? Didn't you kill me? Yang Ling cast a reassuring look, then looked at Dr. Wong and said, There's a specialty in surgery. You come first. As for the referee, let Euro do it. At this point, Jean Euro had no choice but to bite the bullet. She took the medical book and sighed softly. Dr. Wong didn't care so much. This was his best chance to fight back, and he immediately talked about the treatment methods for wind cold recorded in treatise on febrile diseases and miscellaneous diseases. Jean Euro quickly turned to that page and compared them one by one. There were also a lot of melon-eating crowd behind her, and they all nodded their heads. As expected of a doctor, what he said is similar to what is written in medical books. Awesome. So many words. You can even give a general idea. Oh, if only my son was this good. Everyone was chattering. Jean Euro smiled wryly, and Dr. Wong became even more energetic when he saw this, and looked at Yang Ling proudly from time to time. After a while, after he finished talking about several treatment methods for Feng Han, he said proudly, Euro, am I right? Jean Euro sighed softly, nodded and said, The 4 techniques plus famous commentators are almost correct. Everyone nodded when they saw this. Although this person is vulgar, he still has some skills. Some aunts even advised Jean Euro that the profession of doctor has a high salary, and after marrying him, you don't have to worry about money. They didn't go to see Yang Ling anymore. No one thought that Yang Ling could win against Dr. Wong. But Dr. Wong was determined to make Yang Ling look ugly, and said with a sneer, I'm done talking. Yang Ling, it's your turn. All eyes were on Yang Ling at once, and many of them had a playful look on their faces. Jean Euro also looked at him helplessly, with a wry smile on his face. Yang Ling glanced at everyone's expressions, smiled non-committally, and said, Well, I'll also come up with a section on the treatment of wind and cold, so Euro won't have to look for it. Ding dong, the photographic memory skill is activated. A systematic voice sounded in the mind, and for the next 10 minutes, everyone almost stared out their eyes. I just heard Yang Ling talking about a passage about wind and cold in the injury and miscellaneous diseases theory. The accuracy, comprehensiveness, various cases, and inferences from one example, plus the content of famous experts' annotations, were not missing a single word. Jean Euro opened his mouth wide and looked at Yang Ling in disbelief, while the melon-eating crowd behind him could swallow an egg with their mouths open. Oh my God, this kid is so powerful. Wow, this is an expert hermit. Little brother, are you also a medical student? Do you need a girlfriend? Brother, didn't you say that the live broadcast eats shit 5 times a second? What's the room number? I'll give you a gift. Everyone was extremely shocked, and there was an uproar in the audience. The eyes of several female college students looking at Yang Ling flashed with light. Dr. Wong was so startled that his eyes almost popped out. He was a medical student, so he knew that Yang Ling was right. He stared blankly at the indifferent young man and understood that sentence for the first time. People can't be seen. Yang Ling smiled lightly and said, How about Dr. Wong, am I right? Dr. Wong's face collapsed. He was a professional, but he was not as good as a layman. How could he have the face to stay here? Many people who eat melons have cast a sympathetic look at him. How can this be endured? He stood up and glanced at Zhang Yuro, who was talking excitedly with Yang Ling with a smile on his face, and there was a flash of resentment in his eyes. Ding, you have fulfilled Zhang Yuro's wish for you to win. The wish value is +1. Ding, you have fulfilled the desire of the people who eat melons to watch the excitement, and the wish value is +1. Ding, you crushed Dr. Wong's desire to date. Attribute point +1. Hearing the system's notification sound, Yang Ling felt very happy. 1 breakfast, earning 3 wish points and 1 attribute point. Don't be too comfortable. After Dr. Wong left, Yang Ling saw that everyone was looking at him, and a few people even wanted to come forward to talk to him. Anyway, the breakfast was almost finished, so he took Zhang Yuro out of the breakfast shop in a low-key way. Walking on the road, Zhang Yuro chirped like an excited bird. It seemed that she even forgot to go home and sleep. Yang Ling, you are so amazing. Can you teach me Chinese medicine? I have always wanted to get a Chinese medicine license. Yang Ling smiled slightly and said, It's not impossible to teach you, but the tuition fee. Seeing Yang Ling looking at her with a half-smile, Zhang Yuro seemed to understand something. Her face blushed immediately, and she said lightly, So you're so dishonest. Although the words were resentful, there was no sign of anger at all. On the contrary, there was a shyness of a little girl. Her head was lowered, and it seemed that she was really thinking about something. Yang Ling wanted to tease her, so he moved closer and whispered in her ear, What are you thinking? You don't like me, do you? What? Zhang Yuro was startled when she heard the words, hurriedly took a few steps back, blushed, and hummed softly, I don't like people who are younger than me. Goodbye. With that said, he walked angrily towards the other side. Yang Ling looked at the woman's back, smiled, and shook his head. He had something to do, and he was too embarrassed to drive this delicate little girl away. So he made her angry, so he could get away. But just as he was about to turn around and leave, Zhang Yuro ran back again, holding the phone and humming, Give me your V letter. Yang Linger smiled, took out the phone from his pocket, and opened the V message. His cell phone is one of the oldest models, which should have been phased out long ago. But there is no way. I was poor before. But looking at Zhang Yuro's appearance, she didn't care about this at all. She simply added her as a friend, took a peek at Yang Ling, and said in a low voice, I'll treat you to dinner next time, bye. Then he turned and walked away quickly. Yang Ling looked at her back. Then, at his phone, a faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Adding a little bit of attribute, he just got to his agility. Yang Ling could clearly feel that his speed was 1 point faster. In the following time, he went to the bank, took out all the 10 yuan checks, kept some cash on him, and stored the rest on his own card and bound V letter and a certain Alipay. 100,000 is not too much, and it is not too much. In this way, he can be regarded as a little money. Standing at the gate of the bank, after hesitating for a while, he didn't go directly to buy reference books, but walked toward the shopping mall. In the morning, he discovered that this photographic memory skill is so powerful that he doesn't need to read it word by word. Even if he can read 10 lines at a glance, or even 100 lines, he can clearly remember the words in his mind. I seem to be an enhanced version of the scanner. As long as I scan it, everything will be recorded. In this way, he doesn't have to spend money to buy various textbooks and exercises, and he can just go to the Xinhua bookstore to read them. And with this money, he plans to buy a mobile phone, not to show off, but because his mobile phone is really stuck. This shopping mall is a relatively high-end shopping mall in S-City, and it has a lot of traffic. There are already many customers this early in the morning. Just walking not far from the mobile phone counter, Yang Ling was slightly taken aback. The people talking in front of him turned out to be his high school classmates. A girl with heavy makeup taunted a young man in ordinary clothes. Jianghua, how can you buy this kind of mobile phone for your girlfriend? Can this 2,000 yuan mobile phone work? Another ordinary-looking girl's expression changed instantly, but the young man named Jianghua said, Chen Ping, what kind of mobile phone should I buy for my girlfriend? What's your business? What? You think your boyfriend is a bit richer than others, don't you? Beside Chen Ping, there was a big fat man. He was really fat. He should be your boyfriend. Chen Ping took the fat man's arm and said triumphantly, I didn't say that, but I took out any lipstick in my bag. I'm afraid you can't afford it. He seemed to think it was funny when he said it, and he giggled himself. After all, he is a young man. How could he stand such cynicism? Jiang Hua said to the salesperson on the spot. Bring me an AI Mad X, I want to try it. The salesperson gave him a strange look, but didn't say much. AI Crazy X is one of the most expensive popular mobile phones on the market. Jiang Hua looked at the mobile phone box in his hand, which was marked with 8,000, and there was no sound for a while. 8,000 is indeed a large sum for a young man who has just entered society. Seeing this, Chun Ping sneered and said, Buy it? You really have the money to buy this, and you still look at that 2,000 yuan broken phone. Are you going to buy it for me? The fat man next to him was also arrogant and looked at Jiang Hua with contempt, but when he saw Jiang Hua's girlfriend, he looked at it for a while longer. Jiang Hua's blood was surging before, and he couldn't control himself all of a sudden. In fact, he couldn't afford to buy this phone at all. But looking at the expectant eyes of his girlfriend and Chun Ping's contemptuous eyes, he was not reconciled. He was really not reconciled. If he left in such a disheveled manner, let alone his girlfriend, even he would look down on himself. The movement here has already attracted the attention of many people. Everyone looked at Jiang Hua with a look of pity in their contempt. Many people were even secretly talking to the people around them, secretly laughing at this poor boy who was on top. Hearing these voices, Jiang Hua clenched his fists tightly, feeling his eyes were a little red, but just when he was helpless and even a little desperate, a calm voice sounded from behind. I bought this phone for you. The sound was not loud, but it reached everyone's ears clearly. Everyone was taken aback when they heard the words. Jiang Hua turned his head to look and shouted in surprise, Yang Ling. The two of them had a good relationship when they were in high school, and it would not be too much to say that they were best friends, but after graduation, they were busy with their own business, so they lost contact. Yang Ling nodded with a smile and said, I owed you 1 yuan before, so I will pay you back now. You owe me 10,000? Jiang Hua was a little surprised, but after seeing Yang Ling winking, he stopped talking. Yang Ling walked to the counter and said with a slight smile, Make an order. We bought this mobile phone. The salesperson looked at Yang Ling, who was smiling lightly. She had been selling mobile phones for several years and had seen many people of all kinds. Although the young man in front of her was dressed in ordinary clothes, she had an aura. She couldn't tell what kind of aura it was, but she knows that this person can definitely afford Love Crazy X. The salesperson immediately showed a sweet smile and said politely, Sir, please wait a moment. I will write you a list right away. Yang Ling smiled and nodded, but at this moment a cold snort came from beside him. Yang Ling, when will you poor man be able to afford love madness? Could it be the money saved from not eating or drinking for a few months? Buy a mobile phone and eat instant noodles for half a year. Hey, do you want to laugh me to death? For this kind of gold digger who only has money in her mind, Yang Ling didn't want to say a word to her. He smiled slightly at the salesperson and said, By the way, I plan to buy one myself, just two. Two sets. The salesperson widened his eyes and said, Sir, are you sure you want two AI Mad X? Not only her, but even the onlookers were taken aback and then began to whisper, This kid doesn't look like a rich man either. Hey, two AI Crazy X, dash. I think this kid is also a braggart. Yang Ling turned a deaf ear to these whispers, but smiled at the salesperson. What? Are you afraid? I won't be able to pay. What? The salesperson knew that he had said the wrong thing and apologized hastily. I'm sorry, but I'm going to place an order for you right away. Chun Ping on the other side was so angry that she almost chopped off her feet. Such women are often very sensitive. From Yang Ling's behavior of ignoring her, she could clearly read 6 words. I look down on you. How could she bear being despised by someone she had always looked down on? But in public, she is not easy to be rude. So she sneered and said, I want to see if you can pay the money. On the other hand, Jiang Hua was also beating in his heart. Yang Ling's family background was very clear to him. To put it bluntly, it was a real poor family, poorer than himself. Now Yang Ling was obviously helping himself out, and he was afraid that he would lose face in front of his girlfriend. So he said he would pay back the money. Such brothers, less, really less. He was moved and worried at the same time, but looked at Ling anxiously. Soon, the salesperson finished the order, and she asked sweetly, "Sir, how do you pay?" Ling was taken aback for a moment, and then came to his senses. It stands to reason that shopping in such a shopping center usually pays at the cashier, but this salesperson seems very sensible. Since she asked this question, she must have brought a mobile payment device. Ling smiled and said, "Let's just pay for it." "Okay, wait a minute." After explaining to another little girl beside her, she walked quickly to the cashier. After a while, the young salesperson brought the cashier over. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Ling paid the money calmly and asked about the various functions of this love crazy X, by the way. Seeing this, the melon eaters started discussing again one by one, and looked at Ling without the previous contempt. The society is very realistic. A man with money is a real man, but a man without money is difficult. Jianghua took the mobile phone from Ling with excitement and was speechless for a while. After handing the phone to his girlfriend, he just looked at Ling and couldn't be more grateful to this high school classmate and best friend. On the other side, Chun Ping looked like she had eaten a fly. Looking at Ling's profile, she couldn't figure out how this poor guy who was dumped by Fong Yue could afford to buy Love Crazy X. 2. Have you lost your sight? Is this an invisible, rich second generation? The gold digger only had money in her eyes. She took a deep breath, calmed down, and then made a smile that she thought was cute, and then said in a soft voice, "Ling, I misunderstood you before. There's a class reunion in a month. Shall we go together?" No response. Ling didn't respond as if he didn't hear her. In the eyes of others, this change of hers was a bastard's behavior, and the sidelines immediately talked about her and pointed at her. Jianghua mocked. "Chun Ping, didn't you say before that we are not qualified to participate in the class reunion? Why is this suddenly invited? Could it be that you also want Ling to buy you a mobile phone?" Chun Ping's face was as ugly as her thoughts were exposed in public. At this time, the voice of the system had already sounded in Ling's mind. "Ding, you have fulfilled Jianghua's wish to buy Love Crazy X, and the wish value is +1. Ding, you have fulfilled Jianghua's girlfriend's wish, and the wish value is +1. Ding, you fulfilled the wish of the people who eat melons to watch the excitement, and the wish value is +1. Ding, you smashed Chun Ping's wish to mock Jianghua, attribute point +1. Ding, you smashed Chun Ping's wish to see you make a fool of yourself, attribute point +1. Ding, you crushed Chun Ping's boyfriend's wish, attribute point +1. Ding, you shattered Chun Ping's desire to get close, attribute points +1. After a series of prompts, Ling got 4 attribute points and 3 wishing points. What I have to mention is that the people of Huatian Kingdom really like to watch the excitement. No matter where they go, these people will contribute wish points and attribute points to themselves. Ling, who was already happy in his heart, still had a calm expression on the surface. He said to Jianghua beside him, "Long time no see. Let's go for a stroll." As he spoke, he walked forward first. Jianghua was grateful and admired Ling now, and hurriedly dragged his girlfriend to follow. From the beginning to the end, Ling never glanced at Chun Ping, as if this person was a piece of air completely ignored. Chun Ping's face turned pale with anger. She looked at Ling's handsome and calm back, and then at the fat man beside her. She was angry and regretful at the same time. Tears are already rolling in the eyes. Naturally, Ling didn't care about this gold digger's thoughts. He just found a reason and dismissed Jianghua's girlfriend, who was holding a mobile phone, and said as he walked, "How are you doing recently?" Jianghua smiled wryly when he heard the words, "Don't talk about Brother Yang. What can I do for a person like me who has no education and no skills?" During the conversation, even the title has changed. He looked at Ling, smiled wryly, and said, "Thank you today. Don't worry, the 8,000 yuan will definitely be returned to you." Ling shook his head with a smile and said, "Don't worry about the money. Let's talk about it when you have it." As he spoke, he changed the subject and said, "De Jiang, what are your plans for the future?" Jianghua said with a bitter face. Let's take a step to see. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something and asked curiously, Brother Yang, you seem to be doing well. How about I follow you in the future? If you tell me to go east, I will go east. If you tell me to go west, I will go west. Yang Ling looked at the young man beside him. In fact, he helped Jianghua today because of his best friend's affection, and because he also had some ideas of his own. After a moment of silence, Yang Ling said seriously, I'm planning to find a way to make money, but it might be a waste of time. You have to think about it if you want to follow me. Seeing that Yang Ling didn't look like he was joking, Jianghua's expression also changed. He nodded vigorously and said, I don't have enough money. I'll find a way to ask my family for it. Brother Yang, tell me what you plan to do. Ding, you have fulfilled Jianghua's wish to start a business with you, and the wish value is +1. Current progress, August 10th. A smile appeared on Yang Ling's face when he heard the words. Since the system had already given a reminder, it meant that Jianghua really planned to follow him. Although this buddy is not good at reading, it doesn't mean that he is a fool. On the contrary, he is a little smart and has a little ability. If he wants to make money, he must have helpers, and Jianghua is indeed an ideal candidate. Yang Ling patted him on the shoulder with a smile and said, Well, I'll give you 2,000 yuan for activities first, and you can help me look around and find a store. I found me to negotiate the transfer price with the other party. Jianghua asked in surprise, Brother Yang, what kind of store do you plan to open? Are there any requirements for the location and area of the store? Yang Ling was even more satisfied when he heard the words. If he could ask these questions, he would not be a stunned young man. While transferring 2,000 yuan to Jianghua via letter, he said, As for what kind of store to open, I have already thought about it. You don't have to worry about the matter, just go find it. For the storefront, -- square meters will do. It's better if the location is better. It doesn't matter if you can't find it. Jianghua nodded and said, Don't worry, it will be done in 3 days. It is good. Yang Ling patted him on the shoulder and said, As for the salary and treatment, we'll talk about it after you find the store. I still have something to do. Let's go first. Jianghua nodded. Looking at Yang Ling's leaving back, he was still a little dazed. Yang Ling was still the same Yang Ling, but he always felt that he was different, became more calm, and actually had the bearing of a superior. It made him admire, but also faintly afraid. When he came out of the examination office, Yang Ling was in a good mood. He successfully signed up and helped a crush by the way, and gained a little wish value. It was really a surprise. While heading to Xinhua bookstore, Yang Ling began to think. Last night, Tianjuan's leg was broken. According to this person's temper, he will definitely take revenge. This time it is definitely not as simple as a few bodyguards. He urgently needs to strengthen his strength. Currently, there are still 5 free attribute points. After hesitating for a while, he decided to add 3 points to strength and - points to agility. In this way, his property panel becomes Power, 13, Agility, 17, Stamina, 11, Charisma, 1, Wish Value, 9 out of 10. The strength at 13 points has exceeded the level of normal adults, almost equal to the level of a fitness trainer, and the strength is not small. As for the agility of 17 points, that is quite astonishing. To put it bluntly, his current speed is equivalent to that of the best sprinter in the world. Moreover, his stature is flexible, his reaction is quick, and his dodging ability has been greatly increased. 4 or 5 ordinary people with swords, guns, and sticks may not be able to touch him even if they fight for 10 minutes. Of course, not to the extent of flashing bullets. As for stamina, it can be considered temporarily not to add due to the recovery of proficiency skills due to injuries, but stamina is also a very important attribute. This is about your own persistence, and even doing shameful things with women is also a key part of your body. Feeling a warm current pouring into his body, Yang Ling let out a long breath. Only the improvement of strength can make oneself feel safe. As he was walking, suddenly a watchdog barked beside him. Yang Ling frowned and threw out a coin. Ding! Throwing proficiency skill activated. Animals have instincts, and they will not provoke existences stronger than themselves. The watchdog got hit on the forehead and wanted to pounce on him, but when he saw Yang Ling's indifferent eyes, he was obviously startled and ran away whining. Ding, you smashed the watchdog's desire to intimidate you. Attribute point +1. After receiving the notification from the system, Yang Ling remembered that he could get 2 attributes and 2 wish points from non-human creatures every day, which was for nothing. He didn't hesitate any longer and opened his probing eyes. A moment later, in a small park not far from Xinhua bookstore, a few carps were fed casually, and a system notification sounded. Ding, your current wishing slot is full. You can make a wish. Ding, it has been detected that the host has behaved well in the past 2 days, and I will reward you with an unlimited wishing opportunity. What? Yang Ling was taken aback when he heard the words and recalled his behavior in the past 2 days. He found that he was either beating someone or trampling on someone's leg, or he slapped the face of a criminal so hard that he even kicked a dog. Is this considered good behavior? Is this a wish system or a villain system? This reward gave Yang Ling the plan to completely let go of himself. After hesitating for a while, he asked excitedly, System, you said you want to make unlimited wishes, then give me $10 trillion. Ding, money will not come out by itself. The system can mobilize $10 trillion from all over the world to your account. Once you choose this wish, many people will go bankrupt, and you may commit a huge crime of unknown source of property. Please consider carefully. Yang Ling opened his mouth. Hearing what the system said, it seemed to make sense. This is where it gets a little tricky. However, the desire to get rich in an instant overcame reason, and he asked eagerly, Then can the money be transferred from places like Eagle Sauce Country and Island Country? As long as it's not our Tion Kingdom's money, it's fine. Yang Ling is really a villain. He doesn't care about the lives of his international friends in order to get rich. Ding, the system will allocate funds according to the proportion of each country's population in the world. Forehead. Yang Ling was completely speechless upon hearing this. There are a lot of people in Tion Kingdom, and this has to be proportional. I don't know how many people in the country will be unlucky, and with so much money in their own accounts, they will definitely be caught and used as guinea pigs for research. Oh, you're still a pit. With a long sigh, Yang Ling didn't have any expectations for this cheating system and said casually, If you don't give me money, just give me a super rich and beautiful wife as the head office. Ding, the wish is successful, and the system will search for suitable candidates nearby. What? Yang Ling was so frightened that he almost jumped up. He just said it casually, but he didn't expect his wish to be successful. This is an unlimited chance to make a wish. 10 trillion is not enough. Is it okay to be a Superman head office? No matter how bad it is, it would be nice to give it a special function. He hurriedly wanted to revoke it, but received a cold reply from the system. Unlimited wishing opportunities cannot be revoked. Yang Ling smiled wryly when he heard the words, but after thinking about it, with the cheating nature of this system, superhumans and supernatural powers would definitely not make him fat. Yang Ling was annoyed here, but the system's voice rang again. Ding, the match is successful. Your wife's family property has reached 40 billion, and she is a 23-year-old beautiful female president. The system will arrange it in the most reasonable way. Ding, you've gained 1 point of charm. Yang Ling gasped when he heard the words, For billion, isn't that richer than Tian Juyan's family? It's still a beautiful female president, and he is looking forward to it. System, what about her? What's her name? Let me meet. Ding, please don't worry the host. You will meet her in the near future. The match that this system has chosen for you will definitely not let you down. Oh, hearing these words, Yang Ling felt a little nervous. This system is too pissed. God knows what kind of wife you will find for him. But it was done, and he calmed down. What beautiful president. Come as soon as you come. Who is afraid of whom? After adjusting his mentality, he was planning to go to the bookstore according to the plan when the phone rang suddenly. He took out his newly bought mobile phone and saw that it was his father calling. The old man has been poor all his life, and he is afraid of wasting money by calling. He will never call if there is nothing to do. It seems that there is something wrong. Sure enough, the old man said on the phone that he must go home for dinner tonight, and said that he had something important to announce, and he was very secretive. After Ling answered, he hung up the phone and went to Xinhua bookstore. The so-called mountain of books has roads and diligence as the path, and the sea of learning is boundless and hard work. This was the motto of thousands of students, but it obviously didn't apply to Ling. In front of a bookshelf full of extracurricular tutoring books for the college entrance examination, Ling was flipping through books one by one. Each tutorial book will not exceed 10 seconds in his hands, and after saving almost all the content in the form of pictures into his mind, he quickly browses the next one. In the eyes of most people, he is looking for books, but only he knows that this is not looking for books, let alone reading, but eating books. But as time went by, he frowned slightly. He thinks things are a bit simple. Learning is not about rote memorization. There are many things that need to be understood and mastered. Take mathematics as an example. You can memorize the formulas by heart, but in many places, you have to draw inferences. In addition, English words are memorized, but grammar also needs to be applied flexibly. It is useless to rely on rote memorization. Suddenly, Ling thought of something and hurriedly asked, "System, you just said that the unlimited wishing opportunity is an extra reward. So do I have another wishing opportunity that is useless?" Ding! The host still has an ordinary chance to make a wish. You can use it now or save it for later use. During the period, the wish value will be recalculated. Wonderful! Ling was overjoyed when he heard the words, and he tentatively asked, "I want to have superpowers. Is that okay?" Ding! Ordinary wishing cannot make the host have extroverted abilities beyond the understanding of ordinary people. Sure enough, Ling smiled wryly. He also knew the so-called extroversion abilities, such as controlling lightning, flying, etc., which were seen by others, were extroverts. And my own photographic memory is so awesome. It is already a kind of superpower, but others can't see it. It is an introverted ability, which is unlimited. After being silent for a while, Ling said seriously, "I want to make a wish. Let me have a strong calculation ability." Ding! The wish is successful. The host acquires the skill. Deduction proficiency. You can gradually deduce and restore the essence of things with only a trace of clues and come to the only correct truth. Note, this ability will consume mental power. The more complicated the deduction process is, the greater the consumption of mental power will be, and the longer the deduction time will be. Ding! You've gained 1 point of charm. As the system's voice fell, Ling felt a chill rushing into his mind. His mind turned, and what he didn't understand about eating books before was like enlightenment. And he had an epiphany. He found that as long as he wanted to, even very difficult mathematical Olympiad questions could be answered quickly, especially in English. He can speak the English grammar he has mastered very fluently, even better than the teacher. This ability really made him very happy. Among other things, with this ability and a photographic memory, you could become a scientist by yourself. As long as you have enough time, you could design a fifth-generation machine with abacus beads. In the following time, he began to read books crazily. He could deduce any difficulties he encountered this time with a little thought, which can be said to be easily grasped. He is very confident now, and he can definitely finish all the high school courses within 3 days and master them well. It is not impossible for him to be a top scorer in the college entrance examination. Time passed quickly, and it was already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. After reading for a long time, Ling felt dizzy. It seemed that he had calculated too much, and his mind was a little tired. Since his father said he was looking for him for something, he left the bookstore and wobbled towards the house. The area around Ling's house was originally a dormitory for a state-owned enterprise, but after the enterprise was privatized, it became a community. It's an older neighborhood. It was already around 6 o'clock when I got home, and I collected 2 wish points on the way, and I didn't walk for 2 hours in vain. As soon as he opened the door, his mother greeted him and asked with concern, "Ling, is your head okay?" Ling nodded with a smile and said, "The hospital has checked everything, and it's all right." "That's good." The mother wanted to say something, but a sharp voice sounded, "The protagonist is finally here. let's start eating. I saw that besides my parents waiting for me in the living room, there were also my third aunt and my sixth aunt, and a pair of siblings who were the sons and daughters of my third aunt. The elder sister looks above average, but the younger brother is a handsome young man. In front of the elders, Ling had always been a well-behaved child, calling people one by one and saying hello to his cousin and cousin. The meals were all ready, and it seemed that everyone was waiting for him. Ling was careful, seeing his parents' faces showing embarrassment, while the third aunt looked at him intently, thinking that something must be wrong. It's just that he didn't see his younger sister Yang Shui, so he didn't know where this wild girl went. Sure enough, after only a few mouthfuls of food, the third aunt said, Ling, I heard everything from your father. The unit rewarded you with 10 yuan, right? Ling nodded honestly and said, Yes. What's the matter with Sangu? The third aunt said happily after hearing the words, You also know that the college entrance examination is coming soon. According to Xiaoqing's grades, it is not a problem to take the undergraduate exam. I made an agreement with your father. The 10 yuan will be used for my family Xiaoqing's tuition first, and then he will return it to you when he makes money. Ling was taken aback when he heard the words and looked at his father. Seeing his wry smile, he already understood the general idea in his heart. My father is an honest man, and my third aunt is a tough woman with a sharp mouth, so my father probably won't be able to stand up to all the fuss. And my mother is kind by nature, a standard housewife, and my father will generally not object to what he says. Seeing this, Ling frowned, looked at the proud cousin, and then at the third aunt who was enthusiastic on the surface but with contempt in her eyes, and said with a smile, I'm sorry, I have a use for this money. You can find someone else to borrow. What? The third aunt couldn't sit still when she heard the words, and said angrily, Aren't you in front of the security? What do you want money for? Do you know that good steel should be used wisely? Xiaoqing will soon be a college student. He has to pay tuition fees, living expenses, and a girlfriend. He needs money everywhere. We borrowed this money, and it's not that we won't pay you back. And the cousin who has been silent all this time said proudly, Brother, don't worry. When I get out of the society, I will never treat you badly if I start my own business. At that time, you don't have to be a security guard anymore. Just follow me, and I will give you 5,000 as a salary. Ling watched the mother and son singing together, obviously mocking himself. He sneered in his heart, but said on the face, Sangu, I remember you borrowed -yuan from my dad last year, and you haven't paid back any of it. Why? Is this go to borrow money again? The cousin was stunned when he heard the words. After all, young people always want face, so they stopped talking at the moment, but the third aunt said, Look at what you said. Your father and I are brothers and sisters. This can be regarded as mutual help. What's wrong with you, kid? I used to think you were quite honest. Why did you end up like this after working for a few days? How can you talk to your elders like this? Hearing this, Ling took a sip of the Coke on the table and said flatly, I will talk, as you say. Third aunt, uncle, he's been doing small business all these years, so he can't even pay his cousin's tuition. Speaking of which, I'm planning to go to your house to get the money back. You've taken it piecemeal over the years, and it's worth 40 to 50,000. When you come today, let's make it clear, when will the money be paid back? As soon as this remark came out, everyone present was stunned. Today's Ling is a different person compared to before. He used to be submissive, but now instead of borrowing money, he has to collect debts. The contrast between before and after is too great. Ling's parents stared at their son with wide eyes, but Sangu was speechless. No one spoke for a while, and the scene was very embarrassing. Ling took another sip of Coke and looked at the third aunt in leisure. This relative always bullies her head, and the family has suffered a lot from her. The parents are honest and silent, and the younger sister is still young. Today he will pick up the backbone of the family. The third aunt was angry. This little bastard actually talked back to her and asked her to pay back the money. How could this be tolerated? At that moment, she stood up and said angrily to Ling's father, Yang Jianjun, It was agreed before. Why did you change your mind again? Since when can a child make decisions at home? Do you still look like a man? Yang Jianjun took a sip of his wine when he heard the words and just wanted to stand up and say something, but Yang Ling pressed him down. He was slightly taken aback. The big hand on his shoulder was gentle with an irresistible force, and seeing the calm expression of his son beside him, he was a little confused and a little stunned. The son has grown up, and the little hands that held him before have become calm and powerful now. After working hard for half of his life, he still brought up his son well. Thinking of this, he felt sad and relieved. His eyes became slightly moist. At that moment, without saying a word, he lowered his head and took another sip of the wine. But after drinking the wine, the bitterness before was gone. At this moment, Yang Ling said, "My dad is not a man. How could there be me and my sister? Speaking of which, don't men come forward to borrow money? Why did Sangu bring her sister and brother over?" Looking at it this way, my uncle doesn't look like a man anymore. An eye for an eye retort. Yang Ling has never been someone to provoke. He even dared to break Tian Juyan's leg. How could he suffer such a disadvantage? These words can be described as tricky. The third aunt's face suddenly became ugly, and the cousin Lin Dong on the other side stood up and said angrily, "You said that my father is not a man. You can say it again." Boom! With a muffled sound, the corner of the dining table was directly smashed by Yang Ling's palm, and all the dishes on the table were overturned. He stood up abruptly and said in a cold voice, "Why, you are only allowed to swear, and I am not allowed to speak back, is it?" He walked towards Lin Dong step by step, and after standing still in front of him, he said word by word, "Listen well. I said your father doesn't look like a man, so what can you do?" The powerful aura radiated out, making everyone around feel shuddering. Lin Dong was terrified. He finally saw what murderous intent was. It wasn't until now that he remembered that this cousin, who was about the same age as him, had single-handedly dealt with the 3 serial robbers with spray guns. Thinking of this, Lin Dong's whole body trembled violently, and seeing Yang Ling's terrifying eyes, he fell to the ground with a thud. Yang Ling looked down at this cousin from high position, and then at the third aunt. Seeing the expressions of fear on their faces, he knew that the effect he wanted had been achieved. "Umph!" He snorted coldly and said, "For the sake of the 2 relatives, I won't argue with you. But if you still dare to speak rudely to my parents, don't blame me for being rude. The so-called good people are bullied, and Ma Shan is ridden by others. In the past, everyone in the family was too honest, but now the situation is completely reversed." Yang Ling's aura was so strong that no one in the room dared to speak for a moment. Cousin Lin Xiaoye's skirt was covered with food scraps. She might have been drinking coquettishly in the past, but this time she looked terrified. Looking at Yang Ling, he didn't dare to say a word. Yang Ling looked at the stunned third aunt and said coldly, "I won't borrow money. You should give up on it." This statement was extremely strong, and Sangu was shocked and afraid when she heard it, but she was not reconciled. She relied on herself to be fierce, and her husband was in business, so he used to walk sideways in front of relatives. But today, this nephew is even more fierce than him, and he doesn't seem to consider the consequences of tearing his face at all. This is so categorical. At this time, a system voice sounded in Yang Ling's mind. "Ding, you have crushed Sangu's wish to borrow money. Attribute point +1. Ding, you smashed Sangu and cousin's wish to mock you. Attribute point +1. Ding, you fulfilled your parents' wish not to borrow money, and the wish value is +1. Ding, the system prompts. Be kind and filial piety comes first. For the first time, you have fulfilled your parents' wishes, which is very in line with the 3 views of this system. You will get a hidden reward, a random full-level skill. A random skill is being drawn for you. Please wait." What? Before Yang Ling could react, the system's voice sounded again. "Ding, you have obtained a full-level skill, mastery of cooking. Proficient in cooking? Do you want to be a cook?" He froze for a moment, and then a beautiful arc appeared on the corner of his mouth. A lot of arts doesn't overwhelm one's body, so the more rewards, the better. Ignoring the system in his mind, he looked at his mother and said softly, "Mom, don't you have a small book for keeping accounts? Take it out and show it to Sangu. Today we will do the math, how much we owe, and when we plan to pay it back. At this moment, Sangha finally turned around and said sharply, Ling, don't go too far. It's not that you don't know about the relationship my husband knows. Believe it or not, I will let him find someone to make you look good. Huh? How dare you threaten me? Ling's face darkened, and he walked towards Sangha step by step. In his fearful eyes, he said coldly, no matter who it is, I hate others to threaten me the most. Come on, tell me again, and I'll listen. Sangha seemed to be being followed by a ferocious beast. She had a feeling that as long as she dared to say a word, the ferocious beast in front of her would tear herself apart without hesitation. She was trembling all over, looked at Ling in fear, and instinctively said in a trembling voice, what are you going to do? Everyone was shocked by Ling's aura, and they all stared at the young man in a daze, not even daring to breathe. Just at this moment, a doorbell rang. Everyone was taken aback. Ling's mother instinctively went to open the door, but the group of people standing at the door surprised her, a housewife. I saw 7 or 8 men and women in suits walking in. The leader was a middle-aged man with a kind face who often appeared on TV, and he turned out to be the biggest leader. Behind him are Song Baoyi and his immediate boss, the beauty captain Su Qiuxia. Although he didn't know the rest of them, he could roughly guess their identities just by looking at their temperament. Ling suddenly remembered that Su Qiuxia had greeted him that day, saying that the superiors would visit him and his family in the near future, but he didn't expect it to come so soon. The friendly middle-aged man who took the lead was slightly taken aback when he saw Ling, and then said with a smile, Xiaoyang, right? I heard about your deeds, and you have helped your superior a lot. Very good, killing harm in name, young and promising. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand, and Ling hurriedly stepped forward to shake hands, saying, You're flattering yourself. This is what you should do. Everyone sits in the room. Don't mind if it's a bit messy. It was only then that everyone realized that the living room was indeed a bit messy, with spilled food all over the floor. The big superior laughed and said, Xiaoyang, who is so careless? Ling scratched his head in embarrassment, while Song Baoyi behind him kept winking. He reacted immediately. Everyone wait a moment. I will clean up right away. After tidying up quickly, the kind middle-aged man sat on the sofa, talking to Ling and Yang Jianjun and his wife affectionately. The third aunt was shocked, and so was the 6th aunt who made up the number of cousins. The biggest superior in City S actually came to Yang Jianjun's house as a guest with a video camera. Could it be that the young girl is a reporter? That's all. The most important thing is the attitude of Ling, Song Baoyi, and Su Qiuxia. That's old acquaintances chatting. These two are also well-known figures in S City. Could it be that Ling is friends with them? That's pretty cool. Sanggu and the others couldn't believe their eyes, but the facts were in front of them, so they had to believe it. Now a few of them are standing or sitting. There are 2 superiors chatting at the key door, and they don't even have the courage to leave. Now Sangha finally realized how naive what she said just now was. It was ridiculously naive. Her husband does a small business, and he does know a lot of people outside, but compared with the people in this room, they are nothing. I heard a saying on TV before, jackdaws are better than phoenixes, and naive horses are better than unicorns. Now, she has a deep understanding. Ling saw the expressions of these people one by one, and couldn't stop laughing secretly. However, when he saw Lin Dong's expression, he was slightly taken aback. He looked at the camera lady with bright eyes, without blinking. Ling followed her gaze, but was slightly taken aback. The little girl who took the camera was indeed very beautiful, not much different from Su Qiuxia next to her. She was young and beautiful. No wonder this person looked so energetic. At this time, an angry voice came from his ear. Ling, the superiors are all here. What are you looking at? It was Su Qiuxia who spoke. Ling shrank his neck instinctively when he heard this, and quickly looked away. Seeing this, Su Qiuxia snorted softly, rolled a look at Ling, and then seemed to realize something. Her face turned slightly red. At this time, Ling's mother, who was receiving cordial condolences from her superiors, suddenly said, You guys haven't eaten yet. Why don't you have a light meal at home? The kind middle-aged man looked at young Ling, who was talking to Su Qiuxian not far away, with a look of satisfaction in his eyes. This young man left a very good impression on him. He was not humble in front of him, and he spoke with a standard, and the key was his ability. For the first time, he said to Song Baoyi beside him, "Old Song, why don't we have a meal before leaving?" Song Baoyi laughed and said, "Succeed, Mrs. Yang. We have a lot of people, so I will trouble you." Yang Ling's mother sighed when she heard the words and was about to go to the kitchen to cook, but the third aunt's eyes lit up and she hurriedly said, "You don't know, my Xiao Yang's cooking is delicious. Let him cook it for you today. Show your hands." "Oh," the kind-hearted middle-aged senior asked curiously, "Xiao Yang, don't you see that you still have this skill? It seems that we are lucky today." Even Su Qiuxia looked over, with a hint of curiosity in her eyes. Seeing this, Yang Ling frowned slightly. He didn't know how to cook, and this woman clearly wanted him to embarrass him in front of his superiors. After all, relatives, this kind of approach is really too vicious. It's all said for this sake. It's a bit like rushing the ducks to the shelves, but if it was Yang Ling before, he might be helpless. But now he stood up and smiled slightly. "Then wait a minute. I'll cook for you, go." As soon as these words came out, Yang Ling's parents looked at each other. If others didn't know what their son looked like, how could they not know? Since Yang Ling was a child, he almost never entered the kitchen. How could he cook delicious meals? Yang Ling's mother wanted to go up to help, but the superior said with a smile, "Let the young people do things like helping the kitchen. Xiao Su, Xiao Yang has helped you so much. Go and help him today." Su Qiuxiao was slightly taken aback, because Yang Ling caught the robber. She was commended by her superiors, and she was about to be promoted, and she always wanted to thank this subordinate. And she also wanted to see how this Tai Chi master was cooking. So she got up and responded and walked toward the kitchen. Seeing that Yang Ling really wanted to cook by himself, the third aunt had succeeded in her scheme, and a sneer appeared on her face. In the kitchen, Yang Ling looked at the pile of ingredients in front of him, and with a twist of his mouth, he picked up the kitchen knife on the cutting board and started to do it. Ding! The cooking mastery skill is activated. Accompanied by the system's notification sound, he quickly cut a slice of wax gourd with a movement that was almost invisible to the naked eye. Su Qiuxiao on the side saw this with a small mouth, and an expression of disbelief appeared on his face. Yang Ling's way of holding the knife is simply superb. The speed is too fast to see clearly. Every slice of winter melon is cut evenly, as if processed by a machine. It is unbelievable. What surprised her even more was that the sound made when the kitchen knife collided with the cutting board seemed to have a special rhythm, which made people a little intoxicated. The highest meaning of a chef, whether he's cooking ingredients or cooking, every step is art and a pleasing scenery. Su Qiuxia stared blankly at Yang Ling. She realized that she couldn't help at all, and she didn't even dare to make a sound, as if she would break this beautiful rhythm and ruin a work of art if she spoke. A moment later, with the sound of cooking, the smell of vegetables wafted in the room, and the smell made people's index fingers twitch. The people in the room were talking one after another, but their minds had already flown, and each of them secretly swallowed their saliva. Half an hour later, looking at the fragrant food on the table, the superior quietly swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said with a smile, "Xiao Yang, you are really amazing. Not only can you fight robbers bravely, but you also have such a unique skill. Then I'll try your handicraft first." As he spoke, he took a piece of tofu skin, and the moment he put it in his mouth, the senior was taken aback for a moment, then narrowed his eyes with a look of great enjoyment on his face. After thinking about it again, seeing that everyone at the table was looking at him, this kind superior looked at Yang Ling and said seriously, "I have never eaten such delicious tofu in my life." The rest of the people gasped. For such a big superior to say such words, it could be seen that the dishes in front of them are really delicious in the world, peerless delicacies. Seeing this, Song Baoyi couldn't hold back anymore. He laughed loudly and said, "Old superior, is it really so delicious? I'll try it too." As he spoke, he quickly picked up a piece of braised pork and put it in his mouth. Then his expression was even more exaggerated than that of the senior superior. But the difference was that he didn't say any comments, but just kept eating hard, as if he wanted to stick his tongue swallow them all. Seeing this, everyone didn't wait to say hello and quickly stuffed vegetables into their mouths one by one, followed by a burst of exclamation. Disregarding their identities one by one, Feng Wan Yun Yun started to eat. Su Qiuxia chewed the wax-gored slices in her mouth. Her eyes narrowed into slits. She has a not simple background and has eaten many delicacies from mountains and seas, but compared with the few home-cooked dishes in front of her, it is a world of difference. She became more and more satisfied with Yang Ling, a subordinate. Yang Ling's parents breathed a sigh of relief at the same time and looked at their son with a smile. The child has finally grown up and is promising. Ding, you have satisfied everyone's desire to eat delicious food, and the wish value is +1. At this time, Sangha was full of disbelief. How is it possible? Isn't Yang Ling never in the kitchen? She took a slice of wax gourd and put it in her mouth. The next moment, she was shocked first, then enjoyed it, and finally showed an extremely ugly expression on her face. Seeing this, Yang Ling sneered and said, "Why, Sangu? Is it hard to eat? I know you want to embarrass me, but I'm sorry to disappoint you." This was said in front of everyone. Although family ugliness should not be publicized, but this woman dared to embarrass herself in front of so many bosses, Yang Ling would step back. Either be kind. Once the face is torn apart, there is nothing polite to say, and I will step on you to the end. Hearing this, everyone looked over in amazement. All the people present were human beings, and after thinking about it, they understood. While chewing the delicacy in their mouths, they looked at this woman with half smiles. The big superior naturally guessed the matter clearly. He laughed and said, "Xiaoyang, this is your relative? What's going on? Tell me." Yang Ling smiled and said, "It's nothing serious. It's just that my third aunt owes my family tens of thousands of dollars, and she will borrow it again, which has caused a little conflict with me." "Oh." The superior frowned and looked at the third aunt and said, "You are a lesbian. You are all a family. If Xiaoyang doesn't borrow from you, why do you make things difficult for others? In addition, we Huaxia people pay attention to the principle of repaying debts. Xiaoyang's family is also in trouble, so they return the money for no special reason. The bosses have art in their words. Don't look at the subtlety of what they said, but they made it clear that they want to help Yang Ling stand out." The third aunt's face was as uncomfortable as eating a fly. In front of the people at the table, her husband's relationship is a fart. She didn't dare to refute at the moment, but shook her head timidly and nodded. At this moment, Su Qiuxia smiled and said, "Leader Island, young people nowadays all use mobile payment. This money can be paid back with just one scan." Although Su Qiuxia is like an iceberg in the law enforcement team, she protects her weaknesses very well. How can she let her subordinates suffer? It was obvious that he wanted Sangu to pay back the money on the spot. The third aunt was dumbfounded, and both Lin Dong and Lin Xiaoya were dumbfounded. The big bosses helped Yang Ling speak one by one, and after seeing each other for just 2 months, this kid actually established a terrifying network of relationships. Everyone at the table looked at Sangha one by one, and there was a faint sneer at the corner of Song Bowie's mouth. For this reason, Sangha knew that it would be impossible not to pay back the money. "If I say no today, my husband will not be able to do business tomorrow." She bit the bullet and took out her mobile phone, and Yang Ling took out AI Crazy X calmly and said with a slight smile, "Sangu, is V letter or a certain PayPal?" The third aunt smiled bitterly, and there is a saying called 30 years in Hudong and 30 years in Hushi. Don't bully the young and poor. All these years, she has always looked down on her brother Yang Jianjun and this nephew Yang Ling. But now it is this nephew who has the ability to force herself to pay back the money. I'm afraid that from now on, I will have to be cautious in front of my nephew here. Soon, 5 yuan entered Yang Ling's account, and he smiled with satisfaction. "Ding, you have fulfilled your parents' wish for Sangu to pay back the money, and the wish value is +1. Ding, you smashed Sangu's wish to borrow money and not repay it. Attribute point +1. This is just a small episode. De Ling Dao smiled while eating the vegetables. "Little Yang, You're such a good cooker. If you open a restaurant in the future, you'll be able to make people poor. Song Bowie also laughed when he heard the words. He's going to really open a restaurant. My old song goes to his restaurant every day. Everyone laughed when they heard the words. Su Qiuxia chuckled and said, Ju Song, aren't you afraid that sister-in-law will make you kneel on the washboard? As soon as this remark came out, everyone laughed even more happily, and the atmosphere suddenly became active. After hearing the words, Ling was silent for a while, and then said, Several superiors, there is something I've been looking for a chance to talk about for the past few days. The Lingdao laughed and said, Xiaoyang, you're a little hero. Just tell us if you have any difficulties, and we will help you if you can solve them. Ling smiled wryly and said, I've signed up for the college entrance examination and am about to go to university. I want to quit my job in the team. Everyone was taken aback when they heard the words. The Lingdao said with a smile, This is a good thing. Young people want to move up, that's fine. With your ability, you can serve the people in the future if you are admitted to a university and then become a civil servant. Song Bowie pouted, but said, Xiaoyang, academic qualifications are very important. Are you interested in applying for the Law Enforcement Academy? Ling was a little dazed. He thought that his superiors would be unhappy if he resigned, but he didn't expect that he hadn't gone to college yet. So he got together first. Ling's parents were overjoyed. His son was treated so favorably by his superiors, so it would be a good thing to say it. Moreover, his son finally figured out that he was going to college. This was the most surprising thing. Yang Jianjun secretly made up his mind that if he had another job, he must pay for his son to go to college. Ding, you fulfilled your parents' wish for you to take the college entrance examination, and the wish value is +1. But the third aunt, mother, and son stared wide-eyed. Lin Dong snorted coldly with disdain. Although he didn't say anything, the meaning was obvious. You can still go to university like this? Can't pass the college entrance examination. Several people had their own thoughts, but Su Qiuxia's face was a little complicated. On the one hand, she hoped that Ling would have a better future, but when she thought of Ling's resignation, she felt a little uncomfortable. Suddenly, there was an exclamation not far away, and the beautiful female reporter slipped and fell to the ground, as if she had sprained her ankle. Lin Dong's thoughts were always on this girl, and he was the first one to rush over to help her up. The girl seemed to be frightened, and after being helped up by Lin Dong, she said a series of words of thanks in English, which made Ling and the others slightly taken aback. Seeing that the girl is fine, Song Bowie chuckled and said, This is Li Xiao from our propaganda department. He grew up in the Eagle Sauce country. He just returned to China to work, and he can't speak his mother tongue well. No wonder they speak English. Ling nodded, but Lin Dong seemed to want to show off in front of his superiors and began to communicate with this Li Xiao in English. It's just that even if Lin Dong's academic performance is good, he is really lacking in English to communicate with Li Xiao, who grew up in Yingjiang country. Li Xiao blinked her innocent eyes, obviously not understanding Lin Dong's words. Seeing this, Ling smiled slightly, stepped forward and began to communicate with Li Xiao in English. Basically, he asked if he was injured, whether his feet hurt, etc., and politely helped the girl to sit on the sofa. It was rare to meet a peer of his age who could communicate with him fluently in English. Wang Xiao was very excited, and Ling was funny. With a charm value of 3 points, he had an invisible attraction to women. After a few words, Wang Xiao giggled. The superiors first looked at Ling in surprise, and then all smiled with satisfaction. The Lingdao smiled and said to Song Bowie, Xiaoyang is young and speaks English so well, I kind of want to ask him to be a secretary. Song Bowie laughed and said, Don't argue with me. Xiaoyang will be assigned to the municipal bureau in the future. The Lingdao laughed when he heard the words. The more he looked at Ling, the more pleasing to his eyes. And Su Qiuxia also looked at Ling. She didn't expect this subordinate to be better than she imagined, but when she thought of this villain who was seducing beautiful women from abroad, she felt bad. On the other side, Lin Dong's eyes widened, looking at Ling in disbelief. He has always been confident in English, but Ling, a former scumbag and his cousin whom he despises, is so good at English. Such fluent words, such exquisite grammar, and he can also make jokes in English. Those who don't know may think that he is a foreigner of Chinese descent. Being ruthlessly defeated in his best field, Lin Dong was angry and hated, but there was nothing he could do. Yang Ling's parents were overjoyed. They were all smiling. Their son was indeed the best. As for the third aunt and sixth aunt, their mouths were so long that they could swallow eggs. Today's Yang Ling is too powerful, and he probably shocked them more than his whole life. Ding, you fulfilled Li Xiao's desire to communicate with peers. Wish value +1. Ding, you shattered Lin Dong's desire to show off in front of beautiful women. Ability value +1. The corner of Yang Ling's mouth curled up, and after chatting casually for a few more words, he sat back to his original seat. Because it was getting late, the superiors had a conversation with Yang Ling, and after a few words of encouragement, they all left. At the time of parting, under Su Qiuxia's unkind eyes, Yang Ling and Li Xiao exchanged V letters and sent them downstairs. The third aunt and other relatives also left in disgrace. The third aunt really lost her wife and lost her army this trip. She didn't get the money, and she even lost 50,000. Back at the house, after his parents finished cleaning up, Yang Ling transferred 5 yuan to his father. After chatting for a while, he finally came to the topic. He asked curiously, "Dad, didn't you say you have something to announce today?" Yang Jianjun slapped his forehead and said, "Oh, I almost forgot about this." He took out a yellowed letter from the drawer, handed it to Yang Ling, and said, "You can read it yourself." Yang Ling took a look and then smiled wryly. This yellowed letter is in grandfather's handwriting, saying that there was a dead brother who made an appointment with the fingertips to marry him. Unfortunately, the first child gave birth to a boy, so in the end he had to make an appointment with the fingertips of his grandson to marry him. Yang Jianjun sighed softly. "Your grandfather passed away many years ago, but this uncle has not forgotten about it. The letter was sent today. He will bring his granddaughter to see you in a few days. I also sent your photo and phone number to others. Be prepared." Yang Ling knew very well that this must be the wife of the beautiful president who was sent by the system with a net worth of 40 billion. He didn't expect to make such a mess. It's too old-fashioned. But things have come to this. He can only accept it. After chatting for a while, Yang Ling helped with a lot of housework and then planned to go back to the hospital to sleep. It wasn't that he didn't want to live at home, but he was worried that if Tian Juyen came to seek revenge, he might frighten his parents. It was a ticking time bomb, and he knew it would go off sooner or later. The parents now completely trust their son. Until they left the house, the elders never asked him about the 10 yuan, and Yang Ling didn't say anything about his next plan. Walking on the sidewalk under the night, he began to take stock of what he had just gained. Now the wish value is 5 points, and it is a big step forward from the next wish. The key is that he also gained 3 points of attribute. Without much hesitation, he added a little strength and 2 points of agility. Currently, his attributes are Power, 14, Agility, 19, Stamina, 11, Charisma, 3, Wish value, 5 out of 10. Skills, Proficient in Tai Chi Quan, Proficient in Throwing, Proficient in Recovery from Injuries, Proficient in Cooking, Proficient in Photographic Memory, Proficient in Deduction. It took only 2 or 3 days to get the system, and Yang Ling was very satisfied with being able to gain so much. Just as he was walking and thinking about something, suddenly 3 black cars rushed over and stopped beside him. A dozen or so men in different clothes jumped out of the car, and among them looked like the leader with a middle-aged bald head and snorted coldly. "You are Yang Ling?" The middle-aged bald man had a tattoo of a black snake tattooed on his arm. He looked sturdy and looked like a gangster. And Yang Ling seems to have heard of this person. He is a well-known gangster in this area. Nicknamed Black Snake, he is very fierce. It is already past 11 o'clock in the evening. There are no pedestrians on the street, and the place is remote, and there is no one around. This group of people looked for him by name, and it seemed that the visitors were not good. Yang Ling said calmly, "Yes, I am Yang Ling. What do you want to do?" As soon as this remark came out, Black Snake, and Air Leozi were slightly taken aback, and Black Snake mocked. "Don't mess up in danger? You're quite kind, kid. I'm not afraid to tell you. Our brothers are entrusted to abolish you." "Entrusted by someone?" Yang Ling said indifferently. "Did Tian Juyin ask you to come?" Black Snake sneered and said, "You know what you have done." As he said that, he said to one of his subordinates, "Record it. Ask Master Tion for money after we're done." Immediately, another younger brother took out the camera. Looking at his posture quite professionally, it seems that this kind of thing is not uncommon. Seeing that Yang Ling's expression was calm, as if he didn't pay attention to this group of people at all, Black Snake said coldly, "Your face looks like you deserve to be beaten. No wonder Tianjian said he was going to abolish you. There's a saying that he asked me to tell you. As long as you are willing to do 3 things, let the brothers let you go. But now I want to add one more." Yang Ling said indifferently, "Oh, is there such a good thing? Which 3 things? Tell me and listen." The more Black Snake looked at Yang Ling, the more he disliked him. Ordinary people would have been so frightened that their legs would go limp when facing their gang of hooligans. But this kid didn't change his expression or his heartbeat. He wished he could kill this kid now. But if you take people's money, you have to do things beautifully. At that moment, he said with a smirk, "The first thing is to slap your own mouth and knock out 10 teeth before you can stop. The second thing is to find a stick and break your own leg. The third thing is to kneel down and call Grandpa, saying that I was wrong, young Master Tion, and I will be your dog from now on. After these 3 things are done, your other leg will be broken and you'll be given away to survive." Seeing Yang Ling just looking at him indifferently, the Black Snake said angrily, "But because of your bad attitude, I added one more thing. Take off your clothes and trousers and run away to make the fathers happy, and you can still leave a dog's life. If you dare to say no, all your bones will be broken, making your life worse than death." Hearing this, Yang Ling sneered and said, "Really? Then try it, and see whose bones are stronger." Stinky boy looking for death. The Black Snake was extremely angry and shouted, "Give it to me." As soon as he finished speaking, he felt a gust of wind blowing towards his ears, and then his forehead hurt, and his whole body was staring at him, almost unable to stand still. Looking down, it was a coin rolling down under his feet. And the next moment, a black shadow flashed in front of him, and Yang Ling's fist hit him hard in the face. Boom! There was a muffled sound, and the Black Snake ran out of nosebleeds without screaming and fell to the ground. Second kill. Yang Ling sneered, and he dodged the steel pipes thrown by the gangsters like the wind, and shot another coin. Ding! Throwing proficiency skill activated. The system voice sounded, and one person fell to the ground in response, screaming and unable to stand up. But now Yang Ling was surrounded. This group of people can make a name for themselves. They're indeed very vicious, and their moves are all aimed at the vital points. Facing so many besieged and beaten by armed and ruthless people, even a Sonda champion may not be able to stand it. But who is Yang Ling? Ding! Tai Chi is proficient. I saw Yang Ling's whole body surged with momentum, his palms sometimes pushed flat and sometimes turned into fists. A set of Tai Chi made him look like a fire in pure love. With agility as high as 19 points, it is difficult for the steel pipe machete to hit him, and his 14-point strength is far beyond that of a normal adult male. Being punched by him is like being hit by a hammer, and the bone is broken on the spot. Lying on the ground, Black Snake, who had not completely passed out, was so frightened by the scene in front of him that his face turned pale. He hit a dozen of them alone, almost one punch at a time, and my little brother can't even touch the opponent. Is this person Huang Fei Hong or Ip Man, or some god-level soldier king? Is this something that humans can do? He wanted to faint on the spot, but after meeting Yang Ling's cold eyes, his hair stood on end, and he didn't even have the courage to faint. But in 10 minutes, no one in the field could stand except Yang Ling. Taking a deep breath, Yang Ling stepped on Hey Snake's face and said coldly, "What? Aren't you going to break all my bones? Now what?" This kick took some strength, and the Black Snake screamed in pain. "Brother Yang, Master Yang, we have eyes that don't know Mount Tai, and we ran into your old man. Ah, Ah, you don't remember the faults of villains. Let us go. Pass me. Let go of you. Ling sneered and said, just now, they were all steel pipes and machetes. Did you ever try to let me go? He increased his voice, chopped off with one foot, and one of Black Snake's arms was trampled off on the spot. After a burst of heart-piercing screams, the Black Snake cried out in pain. Spare me. Lord Yang, please spare me. Money. I'll give you money. Please let me go. At this time, a little gangster got up, howling and rushing towards the distance in fear of death. Walk. Ling kicked a steel pipe. Ding. Throwing proficiency is activated. The steel pipe seemed to have eyes, and it flew straight towards the little stick, smashing hard on his leg. The man fell to the ground with a thud, screamed, and covered his leg. Judging from the curved arc, it should be broken. Looking away, Ling looked at the Black Snake under his feet and sneered. Aren't you crazy just now? Listen well, I'll give you a chance to take off my clothes and pants, Quben. What? The little errants were all dumbfounded, but looking at Ling's expression, it didn't look like he was joking. Black Snake knew that as long as this master was unhappy, the other arm would definitely be lost. At that moment, he was in so much pain that he really started to take off his clothes. The next scene was really a spectacle. The two wanderers took off their clothes and stood in front of Ling. But Ling unceremoniously used the camera they brought to take a picture of this scene and transmitted it to his mobile phone. After doing all this, Ling sneered and said, in the future, make the cover brighter and let me see you again. It will not be as simple as an arm. Get out of here. Two, as if they had received an amnesty, the wanderers reluctantly picked up their clothes one by one. They didn't even dare to drive the car in front of Ling and fled away with a limp. Looking at their backs, Ling's expression was terrifyingly calm. Ding, you have smashed the desire of the two wanderers to teach you a lesson. Attribute point +1. You shattered Tian Juyen's wish for revenge. Attribute point +1. Ling directly added 1 point of strength and 1 point of agility. Just as he was about to leave, the system's voice sounded again. Ding, you have an attribute that reaches 20 points, and you will get a random reward once. Would you like to draw it now? Ling was overjoyed when he heard the words, and then asked, System, do you have any explanation for this reward? Ding, when a certain attribute of the host increases to an integer, such as 20, 30, or 40, he will receive a random reward. The reward may be a certain skill, or it may be 1 wish point or 1 attribute point. It all depends on your luck. Ling nodded and said, then smoke it for me. Ding, drawing reward for the host. Please wait. Draw the skills and draw the skills. Ling kept praying in his heart, as if his sincerity had moved the heavens, and the system's melodious voice sounded. Ding, you have gained a skill. Game Mastery. Shrimp? Game Proficiency. Do you want me to play League of Legends or Glory of Kings? Ling opened his mouth. The skill was drawn, but it was a dispensable skill. It's much better than drawing 1 wish point. Comforting himself, he smiled slightly, and then his face sank again. Tian Juyen. A sneer appeared on the corner of Ling's mouth, and he walked towards the opposite direction of the hospital. Repulse Bay Villas. As a gathering area for the rich in S City, this place is full of rich and powerful people. Such a place naturally has perfect security measures, surveillance everywhere, as well as security guards patrolling at night and densely packed infrared sensors. A gust of wind blew by, and the security guard on duty seemed to sense something. He looked around and found nothing unusual, so he lowered his head and dozed off again. In front of a large independent villa, Ling stood at the door, took a deep breath, and kicked it out. Boom! With a bang, the door was kicked to the point of collapse, and then a few more kicks, the high-end door crashed down. Tianjuyan's family was awakened from their sleep. The bodyguards sleeping in the living room reacted quickly and rushed over immediately, but they were greeted by coins and Ling's iron fist. With 3 punches and 2 kicks, the 2 bodyguards were knocked unconscious to the ground by surprise. Tian Mingji and his wife, who rushed out to check the situation, were shocked when they saw the boy on the first floor. He knew about Tianjian and he also found the Black Snake group to avenge his son, so how could he not recognize Yang Ling? Yang Ling stood proudly in the living room. Looking up at Tian Mingji, there was a faint murderous flow in those eyes. Tian Mingji's heart skipped a beat, knowing that a catastrophe was imminent today. Boss Tian, Yang Ling raised the camera in his hand and said coldly, "I've done everything. Why don't you come down and talk?" Tian Mingji has experienced many ups and downs in the business world for decades and has seen many storms and waves. Under such circumstances, he is still calm. He whispered to his wife next to him, "Take your son and go through the back door." But before the words were finished, a coin with a cold light brushed past the ears of the two of them, directly smashing a beautiful crystal lamp behind them. Yang Ling said with a half-smile, "Auntie, I'm here on a special trip. Are you leaving now? Isn't that the way to treat guests? Tian wife is just a noble lady. How could she have seen such murderous words?" Her legs softened, and she almost couldn't stand up. At this time, the security guards in the villa area also rushed to the present after hearing the news. The security captain looked at the scene in front of him and said in surprise, "Mr. Tian, this is—" Tian Mingji was overjoyed, but when he saw Yang Ling playing with the camera in his hand, he knew that there must be something in this kid's hands, so he abruptly took the words back. He said with a slightly trembling voice, "Captain Liu, a child from a friend's house is playing around. It's okay, you go." The security captain is not a fool. There will be ghosts if there is nothing wrong. But everyone who lives here has secrets. Now that Boss Tian has spoken, he naturally doesn't want to meddle in other people's business. After looking at Yang Ling, he nodded and said, "It's fine, let's chat." As he said that, he led the people back out, and before leaving, he lifted the door panel and leaned against the door. Seeing this, Yang Ling smiled lightly and said, "Mr. Tian thinks thoroughly. Where's Tian Juyen? Don't you want that cripple of yours to come down and talk about the old days?" These words are obviously going to completely tear the face. Tian Mingji couldn't help but sink in his heart. He knew very well in his heart that the current situation was extremely unfavorable to him. This kid was able to deal with the bodyguards a few times. This skill alone was amazing. The key was that he had the camera he had given to Black Snake in his hand. To put it bluntly, this is buying murder to kill people, and the nature is so bad that it is outrageous. Once it gets out and is exposed by the media, their group's losses will probably be astronomical, and they may even end up in jail. After thinking this through, he sighed and said, "Go and take Yenner out. I believe this little brother is a reasonable person and won't embarrass us." Yang Ling laughed and said, "It seems that Mr. Tian has figured it out, but you are wrong about one thing. I am not a reasonable person. I, Yang Ling, never take revenge overnight." As soon as this remark came out, Tian Mingji was fine, but the lady's whole body went limp and she slumped down on the ground. A moment later, Yang Ling sat on the sofa boldly, and Tian Mingji's family sat opposite him. Tian Juyen looked at Yang Ling, trembling all over. He never imagined that a stinky dick could push him to this point. Even the chairman's father couldn't solve it in person. He was very afraid that Yang Ling would beat him to paralysis in a fit of anger. After all, he now had something in his hands. Even if he beat him on the spot, the old chairman beside him would choose to swallow his anger for the sake of the group. Silence. Enigmatic silence. Tian Mingji looked at Yang Ling, who was sitting opposite him. His brows became more and more wrinkled. He is very clear that in this kind of negotiation, whoever makes a request first will lose momentum. He thought that the boy opposite would be the first to speak when he had the upper hand. But I didn't expect this person to be so calm, and he didn't have the frizzy feeling of an ordinary teenager at all. With a secret sigh in his heart, Tian Mingji first said, "Speak. What do you want?" "Ding, you shattered Tian Meiji's desire to gain an advantage in negotiations. Attribute points +1. Yang Ling sneered in his heart, but said calmly, "Master Tian, I heard that Black Snake said that you want me to do 3 things. If you satisfy him, you can only break one of my legs. Is it true?" Tian Juyen's heart skipped a beat, and a strong uneasiness welled up in his heart. Only Yang Ling said indifferently, I am a fair person. Those 3 things you asked me to do will be returned to you intact. It's okay if you don't do it, and I won't break all the bones in your body. But tomorrow's headlines on the major news boards will be the rich second generation clashing with rivals in love and the chairman's father paying for murder. You understand what I'm saying? The 3 things Tion Juyin asked Ling to do were too horrific. Now that it was him, he was so frightened that he couldn't speak. He could only look to his father for help in a panic. Tian Mingji looked at his son with some disappointment. Compared with the young man in front of him, his son behaved like an idiot. After hesitating for a while, he said, "Little brother, Ming people don't speak dark words. I am willing to spend money to eliminate disasters. You can make a price." Ling sneered and said, "Did I talk to you? I'm asking Tian Juyin now." Tian Mingji said angrily, "Ling, don't go too far. Our Tian family is not made of mud." "Okay." Ling sneered and said, "It's okay if you don't want to talk about it, then goodbye." Speaking of getting up and leaving, Tian Mingji was taken aback. Knowing that Ling's departure was going to be a big deal, he hurriedly said, "Wait a minute. I also know those 3 things. I will pay 20 for each of them. How about it?" Ling smiled lightly when he heard the words. 60 is nothing to your Tian family. You don't think I'm an idiot, do you? Hearing this, Tian Mingji was overjoyed. He could add more money if he had less money, and just talk about it if he had some. He said in a deep voice, "How much do you want? Make an offer." Ling looked at this businessman who thought he was shrewd and laughed. "President Tian, it seems that you have misunderstood me. I do talk to you about money, but not these 3 things." Seeing this person's dazed expression, Ling said calmly, "I read a sentence that says that people who kill people will always kill them. If you dare to do it, you have to bear the consequences. Your son owes discipline. If you don't give him a little bit of strength, I'm afraid he won't have a long memory." As soon as this remark came out, the 3 members of the Tian family gasped. Ling's intention was obvious, and he wanted to return these 3 things intact. Thinking of those 3 things, Tian Juyin collapsed on the sofa, shaking like a sieve. "Ding, you shattered Tian Meiji's desire to spend money to eliminate disasters. Attribute points +1. Tian Mingji clenched his fists. Seeing Ling's indifferent eyes, he was afraid to look at him. What he read from the boy's eyes was contempt, as if he, a rich man, was no different from an ant in his eyes. What kind of person can have such This strong man who is in the shopping mall is also a little scared at the moment. A businessman is a businessman. No matter how rich he is just a businessman. He can talk about business, but he is at a loss for such a dangerous situation. Seeing that their family was all in a daze, Ling sneered and said, "What? Is there anything else to hesitate? I'll count down to 3 and wait for the headlines if I don't decide. 3, 2, 1. Wait a moment." Tian Mingji seemed to have made up his mind, and without a word, he slapped his son's big mouth and knocked his teeth flying. Seeing this, Ling was slightly taken aback, and then sat back on the sofa, watching the good show. Clap, clap, clap. The sound of continuous slaps sounded. Tian Mingji didn't care about his wife's crying and son's screaming. As if he was venting, he slapped hard. After a while, Tian Juyin's cheeks were swollen, and he couldn't even scream, so he stopped. Ling glanced at Tian Juyin, whose teeth had been blown away by the blow and his face like a pig's head, nodded and said, "Mr. Tian, you really want to do something for the sake of the group. You are a ruthless person." As he said that, he got up and walked to the bodyguard who was still unconscious, picked up a shrinking baton, threw it in front of Tian Mingji, and said, "The second thing, let's start." "No." The noble lady Zhang Chunxia suddenly hugged her husband's leg with all her strength and cried, "No, my son can't bear it anymore. Don't want it." Tian Mingji pushed her away forcefully and said angrily to Ling, "I can't be crueler than you." As he said that, he picked up the short stick and suddenly thought that his son's leg would be chopped off. "What?" Zhang Chunxia screamed. Seeing that the short stick was about to hit Tianjin's leg, suddenly a cold light flashed in front of her eyes. A coin accurately hit Tian Mingji's hand holding the stick, and he couldn't hold it under the pain, and the short stick fell to the ground. Ling played with another coin in his hand, said with a light smile, "I was just joking. Why should Mr. Tion take it seriously? Forget it. After all, young Master Tion and I have known each other once. His leg doesn't have to be broken. I can't afford to be called Grandpa. If you pay me a little mental damage, this matter will be considered over." Looking at Tian Juyin, whose face was covered in blood, Ling continued, "But I hope he can take care of himself. If he dares to take revenge, it won't be as simple as breaking his leg." As soon as this remark came out, several people in the field breathed a sigh of relief. Zhang Chunxia collapsed completely, just holding her delirious son and crying. "Ding, you fulfill Tian Mingji and Zhang Chunxia's wish not to have their son's leg broken, and the wish value is +1. Tian Mingji sat down on the sofa with a wry smile on his face. "Brother, you were joking. Didn't you say it earlier? You only said that your son's teeth were wiped out by yourself. You must be joking. People are always a bit mean." He didn't know why Ling chose to stop him at the last moment, but he finally saved his son's leg. He wanted to thank the culprit for no reason. With a sigh of relief, Tian Mingji forced himself to calm down. "Ling, how much money do you want? I'll transfer it to you." Ling was taken aback for a moment. Then his face darkened, and he said, "Mr. Tion, the bank will call the police if the transfer exceeds 100 million. Do you want the Economic Crime Division to investigate me? At this point, you still want to plot against me, but I underestimate you." Tian Mingji was taken aback when he heard the words, and his little thoughts were actually seen. How could Ling have such a consciousness at his age? It's a pity that Ling is proficient in skill deduction. Under such circumstances, he has already activated his skill. Every word Tian Mingji says will be deduced by deduction proficiency to figure out the purpose behind this person. "Ding, you crushed Tian Meiji's desire to plot against you. Attribute point +1. Ling's ability to control the situation and foresight made Tian Mingji dare not play tricks. He sighed lightly and said, "Little brother, let me tell you the truth. Now the family can mobilize 300 million cash, all of which are given to you. It's your mental damage fee. But I hope you can give me the camera in your hand. How about this matter?" Ling smiled slightly and said, "President Tion is a straightforward person. What I just said was more than 100 million in cash. But if it's less than 90, there should be no problem, right?" Tian Mingji smiled wryly when he heard the words, nodded and said, "Okay, 300 million in cash, plus 90 in transfer. I will give it to you now." He said to Zhang Chunxia, who was beside him, "Go and take out all the money at home." Zhang Chunxia nodded when she heard the words, took a meaningful look at Ling, cheered herself up, and walked upstairs. At the same time, Tian Mingji asked for Ling's bank card account number and simply transferred 99 to it. Ling was a little surprised to see him so straightforward, wondering if he wanted less. However, he came to Tian's house to make a big fuss, vented his anger, took the money, and achieved the purpose of deterrence. It is a very good choice for Mingjin to retreat now. After a while, he took the 2 suitcases, opened them, nodded in satisfaction, then threw the camera in Tian Mingji's arms, and said with a slight smile, "Mr. Tian, you ate such a big bag. It's a loss. Won't it just be like that?" Just as Tian Mingji was about to say something, Ling waved his hand and said, "Don't make false claims with me, but I advise you, don't be my enemy. You won't end well." Tian Mingji shook his head and suddenly said seriously, "It would be great if you were my son." Ling was slightly taken aback when he heard this, and after glancing at him, he turned around and walked into the darkness without saying anything. Tian Meiji, who returned to the house, hastily turned on the camera, watched it for a while, and smiled wryly again. "There is no evidence in it, but there are photos of the Black Snake group. I am also confused. As a famous person, how could Black Snake leave a handle?" He walked to the window and looked at the direction where Ling disappeared, feeling both hatred and fear. After a while, he seemed to think of something, and a faint light flickered in his eyes. "Ding, you have fulfilled Tian Meiji's wish for a camera. The wish value is +1, and the current progress is 7/10. When he returned to the hospital, Ling was in a good mood. He hid 2 suitcases with 300 million memory under the bed and laid down on the bed. In addition to 390 million tickets, this trip also gained 2 wishing points and 2 attribute points. After Ling hesitated for a moment, he added the attribute points to his physical strength this time. Currently, his attributes are Power, 14, Agility, 20, Stamina, 13, Charisma, 3, Wish Value, 7 out of 10. This time, he was besieged by the group of black snakes. Although they were successfully dealt with, Ling obviously felt a little tired. High agility and high strength are good, but to fully utilize these 2 attributes, it requires physical support. The so-called fierce tiger is hard against a pack of wolves. If he lacks physical strength and there are many opponents, then things will become difficult. Ling now has the proficiency in deduction skills and could draw inferences about many things. He has completely offended the Tion family to death. Although Tian Mingji is honest now, it is not difficult to see from the fact that he hired a gang of gangsters to deal with him to avenge his son. This is a person who must take revenge. Maybe one day he will take revenge, and the next time will definitely not be as simple as a gangster. Although he was not afraid, he couldn't be completely unprepared, so he planned to improve his physical strength. First of all, to prevent the opponent's tactics of using a sea of people to consume him to death. A warm current surged through his body, and Ling clearly felt that his breath was getting longer. Smiling, he closed his eyes and fell asleep. In the early morning of the second day, he left the hospital early in the morning with the cash box and deposited the 300 million cash in batches into different banks. After finishing all this, it was already afternoon. Looking at the huge sum of nearly 400 million in his account, Ling was so satisfied. I can be considered a rich man. Wandering around in the park, he gained today's wishing points and ability points from various small animals. His wishing gauge has risen to 9 out of 10, and his physical strength has also risen to 15 points. It's really easy. After hesitating for a while, his heart moved, and instead of going to Xinhua bookstore to continue scanning books, he walked towards a nearby real estate agency. Originally, he lived in the patrol dormitory for the convenience of going to work, but now that he has money, it's time to consider changing his living environment. Of course, he doesn't plan to buy a house right now. Although 400 million can buy a good house in S-City, he doesn't have much savings in this way. The money has just arrived, and it's not hot yet. In addition, it is troublesome to explain to his parents. He plans to rent a house first, and then buy a house after he has a stable income. A while later, at the real estate agency center, Ling walked up to the counter and asked politely, "Miss, I plan to rent a house. Do you have any introduction?" This is a relatively high-end real estate agency center, and there are not many customers. The woman who was playing with her mobile phone at the front desk looked up at him and saw that although Ling was good-looking, she was dressed in ordinary clothes, and she did not look like a rich man. She habitually glanced at the door again. Not even a car, snorted through a book of real estate agency information and said, "Here, see for yourself." Ling wasn't angry either. After a slight smile, he began to browse through the information. He has the ability of photographic memory, but after a general scan, he discovered it. A 3-story, 101 square meter, 3-bedroom, 1 living room apartment in Tianxin Garden is being rented out at a price of 5,500 yuan per month, but a one-off payment of half a year's rent is required. Tianxin Garden is a recently opened community. The location is not bad. The key is that it is very close to Donghua University. Donghua University is the school he applied for, and he is very confident that this house is just right for him. He was planning to rent this house, but at this moment, the roar of a sports car engine suddenly sounded outside the hall. I saw a Mercedes-Benz sports car parked at the door of the agency, and a young, stylishly dressed man and woman came down, as if to come here to look at the house. Seeing this, the waitress didn't care about playing with her mobile phone anymore. She ran up to greet her and said something like, "Welcome." This treatment is very different from Ling's. Under the guidance of the waitress, the two walked in arrogantly and other customers in the hall all looked sideways. When he got closer, the young man with sunglasses glanced at Ling, pushed him away unceremoniously, and then said very coolly, "Is there any house near Donghua University? Choose the best one for me." "Okay, I want to live." The lady waiter snatched the real estate agency book from Ling's hand immediately after hearing the words, flipped through it a few times, and said, "There are only houses in the school district near Donghua University, and only one is still rented out. You just happen to be there." "Oh," the man in sunglasses said happily. "Then I want it. Money is not a problem. Find someone to take this with me to see the house." Ling frowned when he heard that, and said, "I'm sorry. I was the one who fell in love with this house first." "Okay." As soon as this remark came out, several people were slightly taken aback. The fashionable young woman glanced at Ling with a hint of contempt in her eyes, not to mention the man in sunglasses, who said with disdain on her face, "You still need to rent a house in the school district. Honestly, find a shanty town to live in. Let's go." "Disgraceful thing." The waitress also chimed in and said, "My guest, although you are the first to come, the rent in the school district is high, so it doesn't seem to be suitable for you. Please wait a moment. I will help you choose a suitable set." "Oh." Ling turned a deaf ear to the waiter's words. He looked at the man in sunglasses and said calmly, "What did you just say?" "I didn't hear clearly." The man in sunglasses was slightly taken aback when he heard the words, looked at Ling, and said, "I said you are an embarrassing thing. What do you want?" "How about it?" Ling laughed and said, "Even Tion Mingji dare not talk to me like that. You really have courage." "This." As soon as this remark came out, everyone was stunned. Who is Tion Mingji? He is a well-known rich man in S City. The man in the sunglasses was taken aback. He was indeed rich, but compared to Tion Mingji, that was nothing. For a moment, he was a little uncertain about Ling's origin, and his momentum weakened. Ling sneered, looked at the service lady, and said, "The rent is 5,500, right? I'll pay dash. I want the house." The waitress opened her mouth and looked at Ling in disbelief. Others might not know it, but she knew that this agency center was the property of the Tion family. If Ling really had something to do with Tion Mingji, she would be fired on the spot with just one word. Looking at Ling, then at the man in the sunglasses, she froze in place, feeling a little overwhelmed. The man in sunglasses glared at Ling. This man made it clear that he wanted to look good today, and the newly caught horse is still by his side. "This is already a difficult situation," he said angrily. "Don't pretend to me, boy. I will pay you to Ling's face darkened. He stretched out 5 fingers and said, "I'll offer 50. "What?" Everyone gasped again. 50 million. This is no longer renting a house. This is the rhythm of buying a house. The man in the sunglasses turned pale. He was just an ordinary rich second generation, and he couldn't compare to a real son like Tian Juoyan. After Ling directly called out the sky-high price, he became depressed on the spot. Seeing this, Ling sneered and said, "Weren't you crazy just now? Well, you apologize to me, and then get out of here with your horse. I can pretend nothing happened. Otherwise, the 50 yuan can only be used as medical expenses for you." Threat. Chiguoguo's threat. The man in the sunglasses blushed, and the woman beside her looked at Ling with some fear. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and laughed loudly. "You said that you have 50 at the first touch of your mouth? Take it out and show me." The more he thought about it, the more he felt it made sense, and he said loudly, "If you can really offer 50 yuan, let alone apologizing to you, I am willing to kneel down and call out to you." Everyone suddenly came over. Even the waitress came to her senses and cast doubtful looks at Ling. The waitress said, "Sir, this is an intermediary center, not a bragging tea house. Please don't disturb our normal business." Ling glanced at her and sneered at the man in the sunglasses. "Kneel down and call out, Lord, that's what you said." With that said, he took out his phone directly from his pocket. When he took that Love Crazy X in his hand, everyone's heart skipped a beat. This phone is not cheap. Maybe this kid really has 50. Sure enough, Ling directly brought up the page showing bank deposits, and the balance was displayed on it. 397 million. Hiss! There was a gasping sound in the field, and then there was complete silence. The face of the waitress turned red and then went pale. The man in the sunglasses was dumbfounded, and his face turned a liver color the next moment. Thinking of what he said before, he really wanted to find a crack in the ground and sneak in. However, after the initial shock, the female companion next to him looked at Ling with a different taste. If Ling's aura wasn't too strong, she might have joined him. Ding! You have fulfilled the desire of the people who eat melons to watch the excitement. The wish value is +1. The current progress is 10/10. You can make a wish. Ding! You crushed the desire of the man in sunglasses and the waitress to mock you. Attribute point +1. Ling put away his mobile phone, looked at the man in sunglasses with a liver-like face, and said calmly, "Kneel down and call Grandpa." You said it yourself. Let's start. The face of the man in sunglasses turned blue and white. Under the eyes of everyone, he didn't want to leave, and he didn't want to leave. It was really a dilemma. At this moment, a group of people suddenly entered the door, and a beautiful lady walked in accompanied by several bodyguards in black. When the waitress saw it, she hurriedly responded, "Hello, Mr. Zhang." The lady nodded and said, "List my villa in Repulspa?" Before she finished speaking, she suddenly saw Ling not far away, and she exclaimed, Ling, why are you here?" Ling smiled lightly. "Mr. Zhang, you open your doors for business. Can I come?" This noble lady was Zhang Chunxia, who was so frightened by Ling last night that her legs were so weak that she could hardly walk. Zhang Chunxia came to her senses, turned around, and left with her bodyguards. But at this time, Ling's faint voice came from behind. "It's all here. What are you doing in such a hurry?" Zhang Chunxia was shocked when she heard the words. She really didn't want to leave. She said with a trembling voice, What else do you want?" This woman's reaction really stunned everyone's eyes. Everyone's mouths were so wide that they could swallow an egg. Who is Zhang Chunxia? That's Tian Mingji's wife, the vice chairman of the Tion Group, who has been on TV several times. Who doesn't know him in S-City? But at this moment, such a lady, a well-known figure, knew Ling, and she looked quite familiar. More importantly, she seemed a little scared of Ling. Thinking of this, everyone couldn't help but look at Ling. What kind of existence is this handsome guy in ordinary clothes? After the initial shock, the man in sunglasses and the waitress looked as ugly as if they had eaten half a worm after eating an apple. The man in the sunglasses even trembled a little. Compared with his father's family background and Tion's group, there was a gap. Ling had a panoramic view of everyone's expressions, and he said calmly, "Mr. Zhang, I heard that your family is the boss here. You open the door to do business and still look at people. Don't you know what it means to come first?" As he spoke, he looked at the waitress with a half-smile. The meaning was self-evident. Zhang Chunxia's heart was beating violently at the moment. Although she knew that Ling would not do anything to her, she was just afraid. Taking a deep breath secretly, she managed to calm herself down, then looked at the waitress beside her and said bluntly, "You have been fired." "What?" The waitress turned pale, and she was about to burst into tears. As if she was about to grab the last straw, she suddenly grabbed Ling's sleeve and said, "Young master, I'm sorry, young master Yang, I shouldn't be a dog. People look low. It's hard to find a job outside. You adults don't remember villains. Please let me go. Are you free tonight? I invite you to dinner to apologize." Ling frowned, seeing that the waitress was about to shed tears, and even said the words of making amends after eating. Isn't this implying that he can use his body to make amends? It seems that this job is really important to her. After sighing softly, Ling said, "I don't want to tell you the truth, and you will be exempted from paying for the meal. You're not my employee, so it's not up to me to decide whether to fire you." As he spoke, he looked at Zhang Chunxia and said, "Don't you have any rules and regulations for such a big group?" "Mr. Zhang, you just fired your mouth. Isn't it too hasty?" Zhang Chunxia is actually a strong woman. After she calmed down, she understood that it must be her employees and this arrogant, rich second generation who provoked Ling, and Ling cured her. But it's useless to figure it out. In her eyes, Yang Ling is already a powerful existence that even her husband is afraid of. She is deeply afraid that this young man will be unhappy and come to find bad luck again. Hearing this, he nodded hurriedly. Xiaoyang, what do you think? That's right. I'll take care of this matter. Everyone opened their mouths wide when they heard this. Those who didn't know thought Yang Ling was the chairman. The waitress breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Yang Ling with gratitude. Ding, you fulfilled the wish of the waitress not to be fired. Wish value +1, current progress, 11/10. One person is dealt with, and it's another person's turn. Yang Ling looked at the man in the sunglasses indifferently, but said nothing. Immediately, everyone's eyes were focused on the arrogant and domineering rich second generation. He gritted his teeth tightly, and his face was extremely ugly. He looked at Zhang Chuanxia, then at the bewildered girlfriend beside him, and finally met Yang Ling's half-smiling eyes, and he knew that if he didn't kneel down and call out to Grandpa, he would not be able to pass this test. Among other things, if Zhang Chuanxia wanted to deal with her father, she would be able to make his father go bankrupt in no time. Confused, the man in sunglasses actually wanted to kneel down when his legs gave way, but before he finished the movement, he picked it up with a big hand. Yang Ling held it in his hands like a chicken, took off his sunglasses, threw them aside, and said flatly, "Man has gold under his knees. Can you still hold your head up after kneeling?" Talking about throwing it away like trash, he sneered and said, "Take your woman and get out, and don't let me see you in the future." Hearing the words, the man in sunglasses said sorry, while scrambling and scrambling to escape. Ding, you fulfilled the wish of the man in sunglasses not wanting to kneel down. Wish value +1, current progress, 12/10. Looking at the young man with a calm face in front of her, Zhang Chunxia felt a ray of curiosity in her heart. Whether it was speaking for the waitress or seeming to pick up the man in the sunglasses, but actually avoiding his kneeling, she got to know Yang Ling again. Thinking of last night, when she stopped her husband from breaking her son's leg at the critical moment, she saw another side of Yang Ling. This young man didn't kill them all. On the contrary, he had to be forgiving and forgiving. Looking at it this way, it wasn't that scary. Thinking of this, she didn't feel scared anymore, but wanted to know more about this boy. But at this moment, Yang Ling was too lazy to pay attention to the lady's thoughts. He said to the waitress, who was still in a daze, "What are you doing in a daze? Go through the formalities. I want to see the house." "Ah, good. Do it now." The waitress was very clever. Of course, she didn't dare to mention anything about 50 yuan and quickly completed the formalities. "Sir, please wait a moment. An intermediary will show you the house soon." Before Yang Ling could speak, Zhang Chunxia suddenly said, "Shall I drive you there?" "What?" Yang Ling was taken aback for a moment and looked at this woman with a frown. He was so scared to death a moment ago. Why did he have to accompany him to see the house now? A woman's heart needle. Even if he is proficient in deduction, he can't guess what medicine is sold in this woman's gourd. However, he had his own plan. After receiving the key from the waitress, he said with a faint smile, "I have legs, so I won't bother Mr. Zhang." As he spoke, he didn't look at her expression, but walked out of the hall unsteadily. Yang Ling's 3 points of charm will invisibly give girls a good impression. Under this smile, no matter whether it is Zhang Chunxia, the waitress, or other women in the hall, their hearts will jump for no reason. Zhang Chunxia stared blankly at Yang Ling's back. Apart from her heart beating, she also felt a little uncomfortable. When he first said that he would send him there, he was taken aback by his own words, but he didn't expect Yang Ling to refuse, and he didn't even bother to look at her. This made her feel a strange emotion. "Are you really old?" Walking out of the hall, Yang Ling turned his head and glanced at the real estate agency, with a vague smile on his lips. He knew that this place belonged to the Tion group, so he came here to rent a house on purpose. The purpose is very clear. Let Tion Mingji know where he lives, so that he can seek revenge and go to his home in the future. His family has always been his weakness, and after a period of time, when he really makes money, he plans to buy a high-end villa with complete security, so that he could be completely at ease. Walking on the road, Yang Ling said in a deep voice in his heart, "System, I want to make a wish so that I can move quickly." Ding! The wish was successful, and the host obtained the skill, Lingbo Weibo. Lingbo Weibo. After the skill is activated, the movement speed increases by 300% and the dodge rate increases by 100%. Note, the duration of this skill is based on the host's physical strength, and the skill stops when the physical strength is exhausted. Ling was overjoyed. He had wanted to have such an ability for a long time. He could protect himself and escape, and if something happened, he could rush there quickly. What surprised him the most was that the dodge rate increased by 100%. If he wanted to get ahead in the future, he would definitely offend people. Maybe someone would use a gun against him. If he could dodge bullets, that would be his wish. After inquiring about the system carefully, he found that the dodge rate was based on agility. After calculating with his proficiency in deduction, Ling found that currently 20 points of agility are not enough to activate Lingbo microsteps. To avoid bullets at close range, at least 40 points of agility are required. If you encounter a few charging sprayers, you need 60 points of agility to go up. Moreover, in addition to agility, it also needs a strong instant reaction ability and strong eyesight. If you want to truly protect yourself, there is still a long way to go. He walked unsteadily to Tianshan Garden, and the security guard let him go after flashing the house key. Leaving aside the condition of the house, the standard of the property itself does not seem to be low. After finding the house he rented, Ling opened the door and saw that it was well decorated, with a living room, kitchen and bathroom, a master room, and a guest room. Nodding in satisfaction, Ling pushed away the master bedroom, but the scene that greeted him surprised him. Seeing a white body lying on that big bed, his first reaction was that he had encountered a murder case. But the slight snoring sound made him heave a sigh of relief, and then he frowned slightly. How could there be a woman sleeping in a house? He thought he had gone to the wrong door, so he went back to look at the house number. Is it true? After hesitating for a while, he decided to wake up this woman and ask her clearly. Snap! With a crisp sound, Chu Xiyin in her sleep felt her body being slapped and bounced up like a frightened little white rabbit. Then she saw a strange but good-looking boy looking at her, and she instinctively reacted. Covering his body with a quilt, he opened his mouth and was about to yell. It's a pity that this boy moved faster and rushed up directly, covering his mouth with his big hand, and could only make a whining sound. Chu Xiyin burst into tears in fright. Will the innocence she has kept for 20 years be forcibly taken away today? Ling looked at the tearful girl, both angry and funny. She must have committed a crime by thinking of herself as QJ. At that moment, Ling said angrily, I'm a new tenant. I'll let you go, but don't shout, you know? Hearing this, Chu Xiyin breathed a sigh of relief and then nodded vigorously. Ling let go of his hand, glanced at the girl who was still wrapping herself tightly, and said with a smile, I've seen it just now. I don't have any information, so I don't need to wrap myself up. What did you say? When Chu Xiyin heard Ling ridiculing her small breasts, she didn't care about being afraid. She showed a pair of small canine teeth and said angrily, Don't you know it's rude to say that? Believe it or not, I will sue you for molestation. Ling laughed and said, If you sue me for molestation, I'll sue you for trespassing. Tell me, why are you here? Seeing that the villain failed to sue first, Chu Xiyin showed a pitiful expression and said, I ran away from home and had nowhere to go. Not to mention, this girl is already very beautiful, but she has such a pitiful expression, no one can bear to drive her away. Ling was taken aback for a moment, and then said a little amusedly, Run away from home? Miss, isn't your excuse too old-fashioned? It's true. Then, Chu Xiyin began to tell the reason why she ran away from home. Basically, her parents wanted to immigrate to Maple Leaf Country, but she didn't want to. After leaving a note, she sneaked back from Maple Leaf Country. This house originally belonged to her family, but it was sold to an intermediary company at a low price because of immigration requirements. She didn't bring much money when she returned to China, and it was used up soon. Because there was no place to live, and this place happened to be empty, and she happened to have the key here. So she stayed here secretly, and the security guard knew her. So she let her go naturally. But it was only about a week since she came back, so the agency didn't find anything. Ling frowned slightly. He calculated with his proficiency in deduction and found that there was no flaw in what he said. He glanced at the ID card and passport randomly placed on the bedside and couldn't help but believe it. But what is this called? Even if this girl is pitiful and beautiful, why should the house I rented be for others to live in? Chu Xin seemed to see what Ling was thinking and said aggrievedly, I don't want to live in vain. When I make money, I will definitely pay you the rent. Make money? Ling asked curiously. How do you make money when you sleep indoors during the day? Unexpectedly, Chu Xin proudly pointed at the computer and said, Are you an anchor? I'm the master of the League of Legends. Do you want me to lead you to the top? What? Ling smiled. He is a man with game proficiency skills. Do you still need to bring him? But seeing how pitiful this girl is, it would be too unreasonable to kick her out, but he doesn't really want to share the house with others. After all, he is a person with secrets. When I was struggling, a system voice suddenly sounded in my mind. Ding detected an energy crystal block. What's that? Ling was taken aback when he heard this. Ding! Energy is needed for system upgrades, and energy crystals can provide the required energy. Every time the host turns in a unit of energy crystals, he can randomly get a full level skill. So good. Ling was overjoyed when he heard the words, and hurriedly asked, Where is the energy crystal? It's hanging around Chu Xin's neck. Ling followed the prestige and saw a jade pendant hanging around the girl's neck. Needless to say, it should be an energy crystal. Under the temptation of skills, Ling chuckled and said, It's not impossible for me to take you in, but... Seeing Ling staring straight at her chest, Chu Xin hurriedly covered her with both hands and said in a trembling voice, Don't even think about it. Ling laughed and said, What are you thinking? I want the jade pendant on your chest. Jade pendant. While Chu Xin breathed a sigh of relief, she looked at the jade pendant hanging on her chest and said curiously, I bought this before, and it's only a few hundred yuan, and it's not worth much. Why do you want this? Ling smiled lightly and said, Don't worry about it. Leave the jade pendant to me. If you don't give it to me, you can go or give it away. You can choose it yourself. A fool would not give it. Chu Xin giggled, took off the jade pendant, and handed it to Ling. Here, you can go out now. I'm going to sleep. Ling took the jade pendant with satisfaction and handed it over to the system directly. Ding, the host turned in the energy crystal block and got a random skill, which is being drawn for you. Please wait. Ding, the host has gained skills and is proficient in musical instruments. Instrumental proficiency. You can use any instrument to play music as you like. Shall I make music? Although he didn't draw skills that strengthen his combat effectiveness, his musical instrument proficiency is also good. That's the same sentence. Yido is not overwhelmed. Maybe it will come in handy someday? Withdrawing her thoughts, she wanted to let Chu Xin out of the master bedroom, but found that the girl had already fallen asleep. It seemed that she was very tired. Smiling slightly, Ling didn't care about these little things. The guest room was just the guest room. Anyway, they were all the same size, so there was no difference. Ding! You have fulfilled Chu Xin's wish. The wish value is +1, and the current progress is 3/10. This girl is careless. She dares to sleep so deeply in front of the man she met for the first time. She doesn't look like a scheming person. Smiling slightly, Ling looked at the time. It was almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon. After a moment of hesitation, he walked towards the door. He went shopping. Now that he has money, he doesn't have to be so tight. He has moved to a new place to live and replaced everything he can. Ling first went to the electronics market and bought a computer worth 1 yuan. The configuration in all aspects was considered quite good, and he agreed to deliver it directly to his home later. Then I went to the supermarket to buy some daily necessities, rice, ingredients, etc. It's not that he likes to be a cook, but that after mastering the cooking skills, unless conditions don't allow it, he still wants to eat delicious dishes made by himself. After finishing all this, it was already nightfall when we got home, and the computer had already been delivered. He nodded to the porter, and he opened the door of the house. and walked into the house with big bags and small bags. But before he could catch his breath, a female voice suddenly screamed, "Ah, this Yasuo is too bad." Needless to say, this beautiful anchor must have started the live broadcast. After Ling smiled wryly, he began to prepare dinner. In the room, Chu Xiyin was watching the barrage and communicating with the audience. She has been live broadcasting for a week. With her beautiful appearance, excellent skills, and lively and cheerful personality, she has gained many fans. At present, the popularity of the live broadcast room has reached about dash, and she has also signed a newcomer contract with the platform. Suddenly, a scent began to permeate the room. Chu Xiyin wrinkled her cute little nose like a kitten and said with a giggle, "It smells so good. It seems that someone has cooked the meal. Everyone, I'll have dinner first, live broadcast on time at 9 o'clock, and take the Han double row tonight." Ignoring all kinds of greetings on the bullet screen, she turned off the live broadcast, and the moment she opened the door, looking at the 3 dishes and 1 soup on the table, she almost floated up. It seems that there is no need to eat instant noodles tonight." Ling glanced at her angrily, but this glance made him quite surprised. If this girl gave him a somewhat natural and messy feeling before, then Chu Xiyin, who is wearing a long skirt and light makeup now, is an out-and-out little beauty. Chu Xiyin seemed to see through Ling's thoughts and said with a giggle, "How about it? Sister is beautiful. It's your luck to rent with a beautiful woman like me." Ling smiled when he heard the words, while Chu Xiyin served a bowl of rice very bluntly and started to eat. Before she ate it, her stomach was growling from the aroma, but after eating it, her whole body became ecstatic. "Here, is this your dish? Oh my God, this is too delicious. Little brother, if you cook for me every day, I will be your girlfriend." Ding, you have fulfilled Chu Xiyin's desire to eat. Wish value +1. Current progress, 4 out of 10. Ling gave her a blank look, and after serving himself a bowl of rice, he said angrily, "Don't call me so disgusting. Just call me Ling from now on." Ling. Chu Xiyin replied vaguely, and stuffed another piece of braised pork in her mouth. Her small eyes were full of satisfaction and enjoyment. A moment later, the beautiful anchor, who had eaten 3 bowls of rice, leaned on the sofa, looked at Ling, who was tidying up, and said in admiration, "Little brother Yang, I can't tell you are good-looking, and your craftsmanship is even more outstanding. Don't worry, my sister won't eat you for nothing. I will take you to the diamond within 3 days, so that you can brag in the future. How about it?" The League of Legends game is popular all over the world. A high rank is not only a bragging capital, but also a career or a live broadcast can make money. It is indeed a lot of benefits to bring a soft girl in a double row or something. Ling smiled lightly and said, "Is your technique really that good?" Chu Xiyin patted her small chest and said proudly, "The master player on the top of the canyon, the #1 female ADC, is called me." Ling's heart moved. "The top of the canyon? Do you often meet professional players?" "That's for sure." Chu Xiyin giggled and said, "Hurry up and install your computer. I've already told the audience tonight, bring the Han duos." Ling smiled slightly. He has game proficiency. If he can't turn this skill into benefits, it's really a waste skill. An idea formed in his mind. He nodded and said, "All right, I also have an account on the top of the canyon, so I'll play a few games with you." The next step is to install the computer, games, and a series of steps. When all this is done, it is exactly 9 o'clock. Ding, you have fulfilled Chu Xiyin's double row wish. The wish value is +1, and the current progress is 5/10. Connected to the microphone with Chu Xiyin in his room, and after debugging, he clicked on the live broadcast platform and found this little girl's live broadcast room. Not to mention, although the popularity is mediocre, there are quite a lot of bullet screens. Unexpectedly, when she tried the microphone just now, Chu Xiyin had already started the live broadcast, and now there were various barges about herself on the screen. "Inin, this little brother's voice is really nice. Does he have a room number?" "The voice is nice, but definitely a rookie." "Whoa, our Inin is about to be snatched away. I hope to meet a professional player and beat up this little boy." There are all kinds of bullet screens, But most of the live broadcast room is aimed at the men who come for Enin's appearance, and they are obviously hostile to him. If they know that they're under the same roof as this beautiful anchor, they don't know how the barrage will react. I entered the casting screen of the game very smoothly, when suddenly someone broke the news on the barrage that the opposite bot lane was a professional player. Chu Xin was startled when she heard the words, and let out a wail after checking. It's over. The opponent is the trumpet of the PT bot lane combination curl wave and agua. I brought a rookie in the bot lane. This game is cold. And the barrage response is also wonderful. What GG, what instant retreat is normal. Many people couldn't wait to see the scene of Ling being tortured by blood. At this time, a systematic voice sounded in Ling's mind. Ding, the game mastery skill is activated. The corner of his mouth curled up. He didn't expect to meet a professional player in the first game, which was a pleasant surprise. Soon after entering the game, the bottom lane on the opposite side was played by two professional players. It seemed that they didn't care about the players in this tier, and directly chose the entertainment combination of Pansen and Prince. But a master is a master after all. Even if he just plays a few heroes casually, it is not something that people of this level can fight against. While Chu Xin chose the best female jerk, Ling used a big bug to assist her. This made the audience watching the live broadcast almost laugh out loud. Big Chongzi assists, and the mana will be gone after a few empty QS. The ability to protect AD is also average. The opponent's bottom lane is a violent duo. Isn't this going to be hanged and beaten? Sure enough, it was fine at level 1 in the bottom lane, but at level 2 the prince had the second company of EQ, and the situation began to become unfavorable. Anyone who has played League of Legends knows that Pansen's shield is knocked out, and the prince is provoked by EQ, and the flash can't be handed over. This fierce combination directly crossed the pawn line, and they were going to push the two of Ling out of the experience zone. At this time, the voice of the system in Ling's mind sounded again. Ding, deduction proficiency is activated. His eyes suddenly became sharper, and he was using this powerful skill to calculate the position of the opponent's duo and Chu Xin's movement trajectory. But this is not the case in the eyes of others. What is this big bug doing? A new tactic of pretending to be offline. If you can't get Q, at least go up and force a move to let the ADC make up damage. A colored pen is a colored pen, a disgrace to the world of leading girls, the most gold rank. The bullet screen scolded Ling unceremoniously, and although Chu Xin interacted with the audience as usual, she smiled wryly in her heart. Originally, she planned to thank Ling and take him to the next level. In addition, if you bring a rookie to win, you can also show off your skills, right? But I didn't expect to be crushed under the tower within a few minutes, and the live broadcast effect became worse. It seemed that I was going to lose fans tonight. There was a stalemate for another moment. The gun cart was about to run out of blood. Chu Xin's female jerk tried to make up for it with the length of her hands, and the position on the opposite side was not as aggressive as it was at the beginning. But the moment the troll was raised, Pan's sun flashed directly onto W and ignited it. This is obviously a flaw in the other party's selling. Chu Xin secretly thought it was not good. She was within the range of the prince's EQ, but she didn't expect the big bug to move faster. At the moment Pantheon's W flashed, W silence flashed almost at the same time, causing Pantheon to not release a single damage skill except stun and ignite. And the Q skill was shot almost at the same time. The prince's EQ man flew in midair and was directly stepped on by the bug's Q skill. In the early stage, the prince who didn't have the second company of EQ and the ultimate move was not even as good as a super soldier, but Ling backhanded Pansan with an ignition. In the blink of an eye, the situation was reversed in an instant. Chu Xin finally reacted, and after the E skill opened the distance, she frantically output to Pansun. Pansun didn't flash and couldn't get away even if he wanted to. After throwing a Q and piercing the big bug's blood, he fell down unwillingly. Seeing that the situation was not good, the prince had already slipped away. Anti-kill. The big bug made an unimaginable operation and directly killed a professional player. Chu Xin screamed excitedly, And after a moment of silence on the bullet screen, a piece of 6,666 followed. But there are also many people who think that the big bug is lucky, and it is impossible to have such a quick response in such an appropriate operation. In the PT training base, the two young men looked at each other, and they both saw the shock in each other's eyes. The coach happened to be there too, so he walked over curiously upon seeing this. This big bug is lucky. Kurlang frowned and said, "It's possible. I'll try again when I get online later." And the next time was to completely shut up Haizi in the barrage, because Ling started to remind Chu Xin to move. "Be careful when you make up this pawn later. The prince will come to EQ you." Sure enough, the female J bullet was shot, and the prince's EQ second company also arrived, but Chu Xin had already prepared herself, and the moment the flag was planted, she had already gone away. But the opponent is a professional player after all, and with the second round of EQ, he can add another flash. The EQ flash directly provoked the female J. It's a pity that there will be no follow-up. Pan Sun, who wanted to follow up, was directly connected by the big bug QW, and he was eaten by a few times. Level dash worms did a lot of damage, and Pan Sun wasn't full of blood, so he was instantly knocked out. A set of operations can be described as smooth, as if everything has been carefully calculated, and the coherence is unbelievable. The proficiency in the game gave young Ling extraordinary control. He also knew the experience, attack power, and other data of each soldier after he died. He is even more familiar with the damage of heroes. And deduction proficiency is to allow him to capture the opponent's next move in advance. The prince's EQ flash was fully handed in, and he was short of a few soldiers until he didn't have a big move. After being rubbed for a while, he lay on the ground and counted black and white. The bullet screen was shocked, Chu Xin was shocked, and the PT bottom lane duo and coach were also shocked. What a terrifying calculation ability and responsiveness. Chu Xin screamed, "Ling, you are too strong. Strong, very strong." The barrage is also full of 666 screens. I don't know how many diving monsters have been blown up in this wave of operations. A small live broadcast room with 10 people actually has a full screen of barges. Digging, what a magical operation. Who said that Ling is a disgrace to the world of girls? Come out? What about the sunspot in front? Why didn't he come out? The barrage was completely shocked by this wave of operations. If you win, you will blow up and lose. The operation is brilliant. 666 is so real. In the base of the PT club, the coach with eyes said to the team leader beside him, "Do you know what is going on with this guy?" The team leader simply shook his head, but the owner of the club who appeared behind them suddenly said, "Agua, do you think this person is lucky or has this ability?" As a top-ranked support in the national server, Agua still has considerable insight. He smiled wryly. "Boss, this is not the first wave. If you say you are lucky, do you believe it?" The boss was taken aback when he heard the words, then turned his head and said bluntly to the team leader, "In 3 minutes, I want to know all the information about this person." After showing such a wave of miraculous operations, the teammates in the game gave Ling a thumbs up, and the jungler even asked him if he wanted some jungle money. It is also a great achievement to assist teammates in the diamond segment to kneel and lick. Ling was calm in his heart and had already expected this situation, but Chu Xin's eyebrows curled up laughing as she watched the rising popularity in the live broadcast room. "Ling, you are such a genius. My sister has decided that I will take you to the top every day from now on. Let's go to the first place in the national server together." Ding, you have fulfilled Chu Xin's wish. Wish value +1. Current progress, 6/10. Chu Xin spoke out loudly, and the bullet screen was full of question marks, but Ling said with a smile, "When did you become my sister? Can you stop putting gold on your face?" The voice was warm and pleasant, and there was a touch of playfulness in the flat tone, which fascinated many young ladies in the live broadcast room on the spot. "Yeah, Ling, start a live broadcast. I want to show you rockets." "Ling, do you have a girlfriend?" "It doesn't matter if you don't. You have one now." The barrage was very enthusiastic, and the previous High Z also wisely changed his tone, blowing everything up. Various gifts were flying in Chu Xin's live broadcast room, and there was even a new ID of a little girl named Ling who directly gave away 2 rockets. This little fangirl has become Yang Ling's diehard fan at first glance. There were no surprises in this game. Pan Sun, the prince in the bottom lane, was directly punched through. Yang Ling used the big bug to lead the rhythm twice. The Canyon Pioneer took the game and ended it. And when the game ended, Chu Xin's popularity in the live broadcast room had reached 20, directly doubling. Ding, you have fulfilled Chu Xin's wish to increase the popularity of the live broadcast room. Wish value +1, current progress, 7 out of 10. Chu Xin smiled like a flower and insisted on pulling Yang Ling to continue the double row. There were also various barges in the live broadcast room asking Yang Ling not to play, and even a local tyrant said that he would give a rocket if he hit him. Yang Ling already had a plan in his mind, and there was nothing wrong with him. So let's just line up. Ding, you have fulfilled Chu Xin's wish. The current progress is 8/10. Sometimes wish value is so easy to earn. In the next few rounds, Yang Ling used Enchantress, Captain, and Yasuo respectively, and his position was changed from support to mid laner. With the 2 major skills in hand, let alone a diamond tier player, even a professional player will only be beaten if he meets him. The 3 took a total of more than 70 heads. All kinds of extreme operations and wonderful predictions appeared at least 10 times, and the opponent who killed it was a scalp numb. The 666 in the barrage never stopped. Just one more disappeared in this short period. Chu Xin received 8 rockets. 5 of them were given by that little fangirl of a Ling. The entire live broadcast room was full of enthusiasm, asking Yang Ling to show his face to watch rockets, and voices asking him to start a live broadcast to watch rockets were endless. In the end, Yang Ling couldn't stop the enthusiasm of the audience and promised to broadcast live with Chu Xin after the college entrance examination, but not every day, and the time would not be fixed. Chu Xin smiled happily. Thanks to Yang Ling, her popularity in the live broadcast room increased exponentially, and she collected at least -yuan for gifts in one night. And Yang Ling also successfully obtained another wish point. The current progress is September 10th, and he will be able to make another wish soon. After playing a few rounds, perhaps because he used his skills excessively, Yang Ling felt a little dizzy. After talking to Chu Xin, he honestly took a shower and went to bed. This sleep was extraordinarily deep. In the early morning of the next day, although Yang Ling was asleep, he was keenly aware of the sound of footsteps in a room. He opened his eyes suddenly and heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that it was Chu Xin. Then he asked angrily, "Don't you know it's rude to trespass into someone else's room?" Chu Xin said enviously, "Don't mention this. Ling, you're lucky. The managers of PT and CMG contacted me early in the morning. After seeing your performance yesterday, they want you to come out and try out." Yang Ling was slightly taken aback when he heard the words, and then a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The live broadcast with Chu Xin last night was not a whim, but had its own purpose. He doesn't want to play professionally, but wants to use this game to master and make money. He smiled slightly and said, "Tell the 2 managers that I don't want to be distracted by the upcoming college entrance examination. Can we talk about everything after my college entrance examination?" Through chatting, Chu Xin also knew that Yang Ling was an examinee. After hearing this, she nodded and said suddenly, "By the way, yesterday your little fangirl gave you 6 rockets. I will transfer the money to you after the money arrives." You. Yang Ling looked at this little beauty and nodded secretly in his heart. Gentlemen love fortune in a proper way. She was able to take the initiative to bring up this matter, so she was not a girl who was greedy for petty gains. Yang Ling smiled lightly. "I heard that your gift money is settled every 6 months? You just started the live broadcast, so let's talk about it later." After saying that, he asked curiously, "Do you still have any money with you now?" "What?" Chu Xin blushed, lowered her head, and shook her head slightly. Seeing this, Yang Ling smiled slightly and transferred 1 yuan to the beautiful anchor via V letter, saying, "I borrowed it from you. Remember to return it to me." Chu Xin opened her mouth and stared blankly at Ling, with tears flickering in the corners of her eyes, but she froze in place for a while, not knowing what to say. Ling smiled and said, "Why? You want to see me get dressed?" Ah! Chu Xin came back to her senses, blushed, and hummed softly, Who wants to see you? I went to bed." With that said, he quickly turned and pushed the door away. Before walking into her room, she rubbed her eyes and looked back at Ling's room. After a moment of stunned, she seemed to understand something, and a bright smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. After breakfast, Ling went straight to the small park and earned 2 attribute points and wishing points. The 2 attributes are directly added to the physical strength, and the current attributes are as follows. Power, 15. Agility, 20. Stamina, 15. Charisma, 3. Skills, injury recovery proficiency, Tai Chi proficiency, throwing proficiency, deduction proficiency, musical instrument proficiency, game proficiency, cooking proficiency, photographic memory, Lingbo Weibo. At this time, the system's notifications sounded again in his mind. Ding, the host's current wishing progress is November 10th, and 1 wish can be made. Ling now has 2 choices. First, get another skill to enhance combat effectiveness and strengthen his own strength. Second, choose a practical skill and enrich yourself. After hesitating for a long time, he made up his mind and said in a deep voice, "I want to make a wish. Let me have superb driving ability." In modern society, a driver's license is a must. Many people can not only drive a car, but also drive a yacht or even an airplane. Ling's family is poor, let alone buying a car before. It was even difficult to get a driver's license. Ding, the wish is successful, and the host gains the skill, driving proficiency. Driving proficiency. You can skillfully drive all vehicles that have appeared on Blue Star from ancient times to the present. Ding, you have gained 1 point of charm. A cool feeling flooded his body, and he found out in horror that not only he could drive a car, but he could even drive an airplane, ship, aircraft carrier, and even a man-made space station. And all the top driving skills. This is too strong. He himself couldn't believe it. When he was excited, the system's prompt sounded suddenly. Ding! It was detected that the host used too much mental power before, causing a state of fatigue. The attribute of mental power is now enabled. Please check the instructions for the host for details. What? A new attribute has been opened. Ling hurriedly checked his panel, and sure enough, he found that under the physical value, there was an additional attribute of mental strength, which was now a little more than normal at 12 points. After carefully reading the instructions, he was a little stunned. No wonder I felt dizzy after playing a few games yesterday. It turned out that my mastery of the game and deduction consumed a lot of my mental power. This is like the blue bar in the game, how to use skills without blue. After the mental power attribute is activated, other skills that require mental power will consume mental power. 12 points of mental power can maintain a skill for 4 hours. In conversion, it is a little mental power for 20 minutes. And if 2 skills are activated at the same time, the consumption of mental power will be doubled, and 1 point can only be maintained for 10 minutes. Without mental power, skills that consume brain power cannot be used. From this point of view, this is also a very critical attribute.